Hello. Everyone have to bear with me today because I am dead and dying. I'm running on about 3 hours sleep and I have a terrible tummy. But here we are, live nonetheless. Hello, everybody. Gary wins this week, even though apparently Mike beat him, but Mike's not here. And that's very surprising Mike's not here because he's #1 fan. What's up, Ben? How you doing? Thank you for stopping in. I know there's been comments about this, but Bam, Borm, Bormy Bam, German pronunciation. Yeah, we'll go with that. Dan in chat. Hello, Dan. Oh, was there someone else? Oh, there was. Oh, my chat's bugging out. Wow, we got loads in chat. Hello, Serenity Dragons. What's up, Andrew? Even though we speak, for some reason I now can't pronounce your name. Ross Lagan. Ross Lagan. I told you it's going to be a long one, everyone. It's going to be a long one. He did win. All right, you guys are talking way too much. Can't confirm. I saw Mike's comment on it. Okay, Mike wins this week. I don't know what happened, but Mike wins this week's. Let's just go with Jonas. Jonas has just upgraded his lighting, everybody. If you're interested, I'll remember after this. Link is Instagram. Check it out. I shared it to my story, actually. Anyway, quick shout out to the Bug Factory before I introduce this week's guest. So, Bug Factory, link in description. The guys over there are great guys, or girls, or both, or neither. Anyway, they're a great company. They support me. They've really helped me out in times of need, and they generally are a great company. Cheapest bugs in the UK that I've found so far online. Link in description. Use Pulse-Monitors 5 for 5% off your first order of bugs. So without further ado, this week's guest is a return guest, and he was the most viewed episode ever, and now he's been dethroned. But with this on top, he'll become top again. A member of the Fellowship of the Varanus is Mr. Riddler's Reptiles.
Yeah, it is.
Hello, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Yeah, all right. Barely awake. Yeah, you're looking crisp in that HD camera there.
Well, the thing is, obviously, with the first one, I was using my laptop and just a standard camera, which looked like it was being filmed on a potato.
Yeah.
And I'm on basically podcasts, hopefully happening and things like that. Anyway, so I thought it's all about presentation. You know, I've got the mic, I've got the headphones, I thought I'll get a web. To be fair, it was a tenner.
Can't complain. That's good for a tenner.
Yeah, I mean, jobs are good, but yeah, all good, man. All good. Can't grumble. Thank you for having me on again.
No, you're welcome. But Mike's saying you're a fake fan because you're never in chat.
I'm always in chat, just like intermittently.
He's always in chat, just not always.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time, he's in chat 100% of the time or something stupid like that. So, but Bam's happy that he's got you in HD.
See, obviously on the intro as well, when you were saying Bam, me and him exchanged the same questions in my latest video. I was like, I'm sorry if I butchered your name in the shout out, but
yeah.
But to be fair, he said he quite likes it anyway. It's quite funny.
So everyone, obviously, because Riddler is part of like the Fellowship of the Varanus, all questions in chat, I'll get around to all the comments and questions, but obviously him and I are going to get into conversation, and then I'll dip into the chat as and when needs to. But new to what wasn't last, we have the quick fire questions. And Fee has added one, and she's told me I'm not allowed to look at it until just now.
Right.
And I have no fucking clue what it's going to be. I swore in like the first 4 minutes. I need to stop doing that because I'm nearly monetized to keep watching my videos. But, so I'm sorry because I'm going to read it out regardless. And it might be good or it might be bad. Like, I don't know. So
are you going to do it first, last? Are you going to throw it in? What are you doing?
Okay, it's in the middle and it's okay. It's okay. I didn't know she was going to make you pick between your cats or something like that, but she hasn't. So it's not too bad.
If you pit my cats up against anything, the opposite is probably going to win.
Okay. So quick fire questions. We'll get into it. You can elaborate, not elaborate, answer, not answer. So she's saying she didn't add, she just changed. And I'll explain when we get there.
All right.
So snakes or lizards?
Because of Ragnar lizards.
Money or time? It's deep shit here, man. That's all we do. I need to stop swearing. God damn
You've
it.
smacked me with some bad ones. I tell you what, I'm going to go with my first instinct, money.
Oh, shallow.
Is what it is, isn't it?
I can say that because we're friends.
Yeah.
Mentally strong or physically strong?
I'm going to elaborate on this one. I'm going to go physically strong because when I was physically strong, it helped to keep me mentally strong.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, fair point. Wild caught good or wild caught bad?
It depends on the circumstances, both within reason. Good for introducing new bloodlines to help the captive breeding. Bad because you're taking animals out of the wild environment.
Okay, I agree.
Oh God,
this isn't the fee question.
All right.
Pro snake rack, no snake rack.
Let me just make sure mine isn't in shot. Hang on. No snake rack.
Snake racks are bad.
Snake racks are bad. Just ignore the one behind me.
We'll get into that.
We will.
I mean, we basically, that's the whole last podcast. We're not going to get into that much, but we'll pick up from where we left off.
We can have an update of sorts. Yeah.
So, arid species or tropical species?
Tropical.
This is Fee's question. So it used to be, you're not allowed to answer what it used to be because it's no longer a question.
All right.
It used to be pigs or goats, and now it's no longer pigs or goats. It's specifically changed for you.
All right.
To donkeys or llamas.
Oh, donkeys. They hold a special place in my heart because you see a lot of them when you go to the Greek islands.
Okay.
And my mum has a very, very big soft spot for donkeys as well. Like every time we heard one on holiday, we go, "Mum, have you seen the donkey?" So donkeys hold a bit of a special place in our hearts, I think. Okay, good question. Very good question.
I think she'll be happy with that answer. I'm sure she'll put good choice.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, yeah. I thought she'd be happy with that. A couple more. Big reptiles, small reptiles.
Small reptiles. Tough one.
Big monitors, dwarf monitors.
See, I'm going to go against myself here now because I think I'm going to go big monitor. No, small monitors. Immediately, I just thought of Kermit, Kader, your Kims.
I think they're small. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they count as small.
Anything over 4 foot, I would say, is big.
So anything Ragnar and above.
I'd say Ragnar's middle. Like Ragnar, Mango, I would class it. Obviously, it's hard because they are in the middle.
Yeah.
But as regards to monitors, Mango and Ragnar are small in comparison. So
when you think of when you think of wow factor when it comes to not intimidation, but that like dragon-like thing, you got your croc monitors, Asian water monitors, black throats, blah, blah, blah. Wow. But then the smaller ones, you've got the rainbow, tree monitors, your blues, your yellows, your greens, your blacks, all of that. And that's where you get the wow factor from them, I think. Yeah,
for sure. And then obviously Kimberleys and other bits are still uniquely cool. Instagram famous or YouTube famous?
YouTube.
Feisty or tame?
Feisty. Makes for better content.
Wild types or morphs?
I like morphs.
Yeah.
I have to admit, especially with, I know obviously the Royal Python thing, boo, but there's no denying for me that some of the morphs that come out in Royals especially are unbelievable. But even hognoses, boas, all sorts. Would you class something like an albino water monitor as a morph?
Yeah.
It would, all right.
Even though it's naturally occurring, it's still a morph.
Yeah, I'd probably typical royal keeper. Sorry, Mike. But yeah, I'll go morphs.
Okay, and then the final question. I already know your answer, but I'm going to ask it, and then I'm going to end the podcast. Talking about shoes, pro Crocs, no Crocs.
No Crocs.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. All right, bye.
Yeah, I can't do it, man. I just can't. Because the thing is, then
you're a
like
fake
my
monitor
missus,
keeper.
but surely the slippers count for something.
No,
I'm not interested. It's like my missus says to me, she's like, "Have you ever tried them?" And I'm like, "I'd just rather not. I'm
too cool for Crocs.
I just can't." But the thing is, it's not even that, because obviously there's that whole thing of them being uncool.
Nah, they're cool, man.
But I just look at them and I go, that is just an abomination.
Nah.
I'm going to stop talking about them now.
Moving swiftly on. So just quick, I'm going to go through the comments. Before you're monetized, you say whatever you want. Also starting off controversial. First question for you, Riddler. Yeah. How long does it take to grow that beard?
Do you know what? The funny thing is, this is actually at one of its shortest lengths it's been. About 2 or 3 months ago, it was no joke, probably about there. It was getting a bit much, but it does take long, only a few months, I'd say. I'm at that sort of stage where I could probably shave it and it'd probably come back by tomorrow morning at this point.
Yes, but same. I've been in beard, what's the word?
Limbo,
regression, depression, yes. I don't know.
Because you shaved it the other week, didn't you? And you were fuming.
Yeah. It's not looking too bad now. It's a bit like the double chin's not as obvious now. So give it another week and we'll be right.
To be fair, that you say that, the biggest reason I have this beard is to sculpt myself a chin out of hair, because I don't own a chin. So I'm literally just like,
you lost it at birth.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've just had to build myself a chin out of hair.
Right, good choice for the donkeys. Zebras are striped donkeys. Facts, yeah. Making friends with my mangrove by way of putting my hand into her pond. She rests on my hand. Yeah, I guess that works. Doing it in her enclosure. Yeah, I'm for that. Okay, my chat is freezing up. Zebras are arseholes. Okay. Typical royal keepers. Cry laughy face. No croc gang. Sipper gang. Oh, Fee's coming in with a D. It's because he's old. He's 30 now. There you go. Almost brought a royal morph once, so I don't blame you. I've been converted since. I think that's I'll just go to Gary quickly because I will forget. What's good? How are we doing?
Chris?
How are we doing? I just got my colony of orange heads and discoid roaches. I have orange heads and discoid roaches as well. So fingers crossed, Gary, we can compare notes. But yeah, let's go back to...
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
a good one.
So where we left off, you were contemplating, not necessarily contemplating, like you decided that you no longer wanted to keep a snake rack. How and what? I always forget, Chris, that you're Bailey's backgrounds. I'm really sorry, but... I just class you as Bailey. I know it's your daughter's name. I'm sorry.
Shout out to Bailey's Backgrounds.
Yeah, shout out Bailey's Backgrounds. Go and check him out for UK custom built enclosures. He did Matt's Kingle. But anyway, where are you at now? Just where are you at with keeping? How are you feeling? How are you doing?
There's been a lot that's been going on. Not just in the reptile world for me, but just life in general. The reptile keeping thing I'm feeling a lot better about. I've still got the rack. Unfortunately, it's still going. So it's not here through choice. It's just that the people that I know that are taking some or having some of the snakes, it just hasn't sort of happened yet. I'm moving them on. I know who I'm keeping, and the ones that I keep are not staying in a rack. So, because obviously the thought for me was I wanted to have all of my snakes in bigger enclosures where they can climb, where they can bask, they can basically do what they can't do now. It's very, very difficult to build 14 4-foot enclosures in a garage.
Yeah.
So essentially I had to think of the ones that I'd be willing to move on. It's tough because I know a lot of royal keepers just see the royals as a product, as something to make money. So they don't even name them, like we said in the last podcast. Like it would just be a tag that says 0.1 Pastolenci, whereas mine have got their names on the tubs. Do you know what I mean? Which is it just adds that little bit more like personable connection with the snakes.
Yeah.
So it is harder to move them on because I know Gary's in the chat. I know when I did the video, I was like, this is Gary. He's a lovely boy. But unfortunately, Gary's going. And
Gary
it's
is a
hard.
lovely boy. We
Gary
appreciate
is
Gary.
a lovely boy. Shout out Gary.
Shout
but
out
it's
Gary.
hard. It is hard, but for an increase in like a better life for the animals that I keep, some of them have to be moved on. It's as simple as that. Like if I had not unlimited money, if I was rich, for example, money no object, I had a warehouse or something that I could build with these enclosures, fine, but I don't. I got all of these snakes in a very short period of time. I whacked them in a rack. The plan was to, breed and become that guy. Obviously, change of heart, morality came into play, blah, blah, blah. And it's now about being smart. Some of them are moving on. You see my room small as a cat litter box, was it?
So here's seriously. I actually you talk about this. I'm going to bring up his Instagram. So you carry on talking about that. I'm going to bring it up in a second because his reptile room is small, but it's like you say, and then also you can talk about there only be one Gary to rule them all. But yeah, so I'm going to bring that up. But like, so I guess the question is with it. Like I say, using of the space. So do you not think it's better in the sense of, let's just say devil's advocate, you know that you're caring for them, you know you're keeping them in the rack. So why have you made that conscious decision to move them on? I guess elaborate on that, because I'm going to get into like my thoughts and processes, because I'm in the same boat as where you were however long ago we did the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Do you know what? I'm happy to admit that actually it was almost like an intrusive thought that came up quite early on in keeping them in a rack. In actual fact, before I had the rack, I was saying to someone I wouldn't keep them in tubs because it's not right. It's small. It's only because I fell into that, what you call the echo chamber of someone saying to me, well, no, but hang on a second. Of course you can. They like it. They prefer it. In the wild, they live in burrows and termite mounds, and they barely ever come out, and they only come out to hunt and mate and go to the toilet. And it was only because of that I started thinking, oh, maybe I've got it wrong. Do these animals prefer it? And so that's why I did it. And I used that justification myself as well. But every now and again, I just get that little thing in my head going, but really? But I did what I think a lot of royal keepers do, and they ignored it. They went, never mind. Oh, hello.
I don't know if it's going to play, bear with me. Yeah, so wait for it to get back to the start, just because it's a video on. So basically, me and Jonas have been speaking about LED lighting. He put on his story. We'd never spoken before, and he put on his story about LEDs. And I, being the nerd I am, was like, get these. So he's just showcasing a couple of the LEDs that he's got. But at the start of this, so that's his room. So he's obviously got Vivs at the back right, Vivs on the left. But yeah, it's a very, very smart, very, very, very smart setup.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
that is very cool. I like that. I mean, the good news is that this reptile room that we're in, so obviously, I don't know, for anyone that follows me on Instagram, I've been doing a lot of stories and things like that saying reptile room 2.0 coming, blah, blah, blah. Plans have sort of changed, and it looks as though we're not moving from this house, right? So reptile room 2.0 won't be happening elsewhere. However, because we're staying here, this one might be getting extended if we can. So with that being said, obviously the rack needs to go. And where the rack is, I could probably fit 4 or 5 4-foot enclosures there. Like built, if I custom built them, one on top of the other, instead of having 14 snakes in that small space, I could have 4 or 5 animals in bigger, better enclosures that I can look at morally and go, happy with that. Do you know what I mean? It's never perfect, as we've said, but if I keep 5 royals and I just stack them in custom built Vivs, jobs are good.
Yeah, so we've got some angry comments over keeping our 5-foot bows and 6x2x18 enclosures. People come at you no matter what you do.
That's true. But I think what it comes down to is what you can live with yourself. Like if you feel as though you can look at that and you go, no, that's fine, as long as you're not getting. But like I say, but then it's a tough one because royal keepers with racks look at that and go, yeah, but that's fine. With a 5-foot snake in a 6-foot enclosure, you've got to look at that and go, well, the snake has got room to fully stretch out. Do you know what I mean? It's so.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I can't keep snakes because
No.
I can't put a snake in a viv, and when it's out and about, I'm like, oh my god, the viv's tiny. Like my brain can't process it. Like I just can't process it. So I'm not the right person to ask because I am very anal with space in anyway. So I brought it was meant to be like 4.5 foot. It turns out it's about 5.5 foot Bredl's python. And I messaged like, loads of snake keepers and I was like, I have a 4 foot long, 3 foot tall, 2 foot deep viv. And again, the snake was meant to be 4.5 foot. It's not, it's 5.5 foot. But the snake people were like, oh my god, that'd be incredible. Like put loads of branches in there, be this, that, and the other. I'll be completely honest, I don't know if I'd be happy with that snake in a 6x3x3. Just because it's me. So snakes are not for me. So I can't comment because I'm just going to say my opinion. And my opinion is you have to give a huge space for a snake. Like for a lizard, I like the idea of it being 3 times longer than a lizard. So a 2-foot lizard or a 6-foot viv. So if you give the same principle to a snake, a 6-foot snake has to go in a 18-foot viv.
Yeah.
It's not feasible. So I'm moving on snakes.
It's one of those because obviously the whole thing with royal keepers is it's a case of they say, oh, but they don't move. The problem is if you put it in tub, it hasn't got a choice but to not move. Like I've got one of my royals is in a 4-foot enclosure. She uses all 4 feet, and I'm not even just saying that. Like the other day, again, I uploaded a video where she decided to where the heat light comes in, the cable. She just decided to coil up there. Cool, no worries. The other day, she was in the cool side, under the cool hide. Today, she's in the middle in the big hide, just hiding in there. Like, of course she's using it because it's there. If you obviously give an animal a small space to use, of course it's not going to be using a lot of space. It's not allowed. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you give it that space, like I say, with your Bredls, for example, 5.5 foot snake in a, what was it, a 4 foot by 3 foot?
4 foot long, 3 foot tall, 2 foot deep.
For me, because I was one of the ones that you sent that to and said, what did you think? Now, I thought it was a trap. And I was there going... and I said, I was there,
it's like,
I was there typing, and I was going, it's really good. I think he's going to like that. It's good space. And I hit send, and I was waiting for you to go, you're a piece of shit. But you didn't.
And obviously. I did.
And you did, yeah. But I think that's where a lot of your own sense of morality comes into it. You know, like with Serenity saying, people giving angry comments about 5 foot bows in a 6 foot enclosure. If that was me, anyone having a go at me for keeping a snake in a 6 foot enclosure, water off a duck's back, I'd be like, you just
you're a hater. That's it.
You're a hater. What's your beef? Do you know what I mean? But if people come at me now and say you're awful because you keep snakes in a tub, I'll go, yeah, fair enough. It's as simple as that, because my own morality has told me I am wrong for doing this. Simple as that. It is what it is. But I think a lot of people try and ignore it and focus on what can be because there's money to be had.
Yeah, it's same for me, Chris. I want a warehouse. I want every single animal to be a walk-in. I could do it here. I just need to sell some animals, which we'll get into in a second. I've got 4 new ones in that reptile room. So it is about making use of the space, which I'm going to get into in a second. Forgot the time. Fake fan, Longfield.
Come on, Michael. I need to make sure that I call him Michael, because I accidentally called him Mike on your last video and he corrected me very swiftly.
He didn't like it, did he?
He didn't.
I just called him Longfield. I just go by the I call you Riddler. You know. Yeah. Sometimes you got to think about your actual name.
Yeah, because it's funny because for the first couple of months we were chatting or like you introduced me as Riddler or blah blah blah, I was like, does he actually know my name? I'm sure we've said it or I've said it before, and
I can't pronounce your last.
Yeah, most people can't, to be fair.
Yeah, I know your name's Andrew. because
My
it's
surname
always Andrew
is a
Riddler
tough one.
Reptiles.
Andrew
What is?
Riddler Reptiles. That's it.
There you go. So what's the last name?
Nicolau.
Oh, that's easy. Nicolau. Boom, done.
But with all
I
those
can't-
letters and vowels and stuff in front of you, you do look at it and go, Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
what is that?
I can't read, so
Yeah,
I
fair
struggle to
enough.
read at the best of times. Right. Bro, my boy is a big perch. Balls are more than active than you think, and the snakes move a lot too.
Facts.
Right, where are we at with things? I am reading the comments, everyone. I'm trying to like see if there's like stuff that's like, it wouldn't be money in breeding royals. I don't think there would be any racks at all. If there's no money in breeding royals, I don't think there'd be any racks at all. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, because the thing is, you've got a snake that can lay anywhere between 2 and 15 eggs. If you get the correct pairings together, and each baby is worth $3,000 a piece, it's a lot of money. But you know what? Here was one of my thoughts with it, right? So surely, because obviously one thing that we were saying before is each year it's almost like there's a new fashion. There's like this one's just in. It's almost like a fashion show. Like, for example, at the minute, what is it? Desert Ghost is in at the minute, right? Now, the thing is, they're worth a lot of money, yeah? But all of the big boys and a lot of the smaller scale breeders are breeding. So they've all spent thousands of pounds to get either hets or actual Desert Ghost ones, and they're pumping them out and breeding them. It's a Desert Ghost, so it's worth £2,000. But then after a year or so, everyone that wants one has got one. So after that, the price is going to go down. Surely, if you bred one clutch of Desert Ghost, let's just say, for example, because they reach in a 4-foot viv, and you only had 5 baby Desert Ghosts that you could sell, that's going to go for a lot more money because there's not a supply for the demand, and it's better ethically kept. But unfortunately, it's a case of, well, if I can breed 15 of them in one hit, then I can get more money quicker. That's the problem.
Yeah, everyone wants a quick buck. So they're fussing because our 6 foot are unnecessary. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So they were complaining because they get, but that's just insecurities.
Oh, right. Oh, so it wasn't that it was too small. They were saying that it was unnecessarily big. No, that's wild. It's that there's no such thing as too big. They're just, and you will, I'm sure you will vouch for that as well. There is no such thing as too
people
big.
justify the fact that they keep their stuff in smaller, so they do it to make them. Well, like I come across this, I approach this with a spirituality point of view, because that's sort of my religion, if we're calling it that. So those people are hurting internally, so they're attacking externally. So I don't personally take, because obviously they're hurting. So it's not.
Yeah.
If you go back at them and go, "You're a dickhead," or "You're this," or "You're that," you're feeding into their agenda. Whereas if you just either ignore it or just be like, "Peace and love, bro," then there's nothing they can come back with. Do you keep any monitors, Riddler? Gary's already in there for you.
He has Ragnar, one of the best. Gary, you're a goddamn legend.
There can only be one.
And I'm sorry I'm selling your name snake. Name snake? That works. I was trying to say namesake snake, but said name snake. Nice. Anyway, yes, Dorian, I do keep monitors. Well, I keep a singular monitor at the minute, and it's Ragnar the Roughneck monitor, who we're still unsure of sex at the moment.
Find out soon. Stay tuned in.
Hopefully, very much hopefully. But yeah, Ragnar is the reason why me and Paul speak. Basically, Ragnar's the reason why I'm here. So shout out Ragnar.
I nearly had Ragnar. For those people that don't know, really quick, because we touched on it on our last podcast. So check that whole story out. But long story short, Riddler had the wool pulled over his eyes, where he was going to become a capitalist breeder of royals, and he was going to make loads of money, and he was going to ride off into the sunset. And then he started speaking to me, and he was like, "Yo, bro, you want a lizard?" And I was like,
"I say it is in my jacket. Like, do you want a lizard?
Yeah, you want lizard?" And I was like, "No." And then I was like, same as I do for everyone. I'm like, "What?" Because I had someone message me today. It's like, "You want to buy a mangrove?" And then I'm like, "Why are you selling the mangrove?" I'm not just like, Anyway, so Riddler and I were speaking backwards and forwards, and I didn't know him from Adam, so I was just like, "Why are you selling it?" We got to the root cause of the problem, and we've pretty much spoke every day since, and that was in December. Yeah, there we go. Now look at us. So I get a mention in like every other story, so it's great.
Pretty much. In all fairness, like, because the thing is, I won't blow too much smoke up your ass right now.
Not this early on, yeah.
Not this early, no. Because obviously we talk a lot, so I do talk to you. But publicly, what I can say is genuinely, since we've started talking, my reptile keeping has come a long way because I'm surrounding myself with people that want better. And that's what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? Like the circles that I was in before, there wasn't a lot of ethics involved. It was very much morphs and money and, do you know what I mean? Big, large scale breeding and things like that. There wasn't really any sort of, so what lighting are you using? It was, what breeding pairs have you got going on? Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you start speaking to people, you know, because obviously through you, I now every now and again chat to Mr. Will Exotic himself, who Shock Horror isn't here again, fake fan.
He is a fake fan. Fuck Will Exotic.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? So since we've started speaking and I've started surrounding myself with people that look more at the animals than the money, my reptile keeping has improved tenfold.
Yeah, but that's what the hobby is about, though.
And there's still more to come.
Stay tuned, like and subscribe. That's what the hobby's about, though. The hobby is about, like, because for example, I could have been one of several ways with you. Because I remember saying to you, because you were like, "Oh, I want to breed royals, so I want more space, this, that, and the other." And then I was like, "Well, imagine like breeding roughnecks rather than feeding a market that has." Because this was like back in December. I was like, imagine breeding roughnecks rather than feeding a market that's incredibly oversaturated with bloody snakes with paint jobs. And at the time, I think you were a bit like, "Oh yeah, well, but I think now you're a bit more like, for yourself and for the hobby, doing something that's more worthwhile, I guess is probably the best way to put it."
Well, it touches on one of your quickfire questions, the wild caught or captive bred. Now, roughneck monitors, as you know, Riddler needs to get more monitors. I do, yeah. As you know, roughneck monitors aren't captive bred in the UK, or if they are, I think one person's currently doing it.
They've been done once. Yeah, I'll get his name up now. You carry on talking.
So with that being said, any roughnecks that you're buying are wild caught. Obviously, coming from the wild, being caught, taken out of their natural environment. Now, if you can become the person that helps, supply captive bred animals that aren't being taken out of their environment, that isn't in a saturated market, why wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? Like it makes sense, because not only is it good for yourself, but you're helping the hobby and the animals themselves.
Yeah, so the guy that's bred them in the UK is called Anthony Walker Manning, but he's not very big on socials.
Right.
But I've been speaking to him. Great transition, because I've been speaking to him. Oh, fuck it. I've been speaking to him about a male peach throat monitor.
Right, okay.
I'm pretty sure my peach throat is a female. And on this same subject of wild caught animals into captivity, peach throats are wild caught. And to my knowledge, they've only been captive bred like twice in America. Don't think they've ever been done in Europe. But yeah, anyway, they're not done often. They're rarer captive bred than mangroves. Mangroves are pretty rare on their own.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I'm supposed to be getting quite a big enclosure next week after. Anyway, but that may have gone to pot now. And if that's gone to pot, that means I can't get the peach throat anyway. But yeah, so my brain was like, I get this big enclosure, I get this peach throat. Yeah, it is spoilers, but it might not happen yet. I'm going to basically just hash out my thoughts for everybody here. Because why the fuck not?
Well, no better place to do it than online.
So this is now the therapy session for reptile keepers. And I messaged Riddler to say, is he happy to speak about this? Because you're obviously in the process of rehoming animals, and this is now where this conversation is about to go. And I'm sure everybody gets into the same boat, regardless if it's one animal or 20 animals, but by. So I'm like, do I get this peach throat? And I get, because of mental problems that I may or may not have, I get myself in all a tizzy, and I can never just be like level with it. I'm either like ecstatic or I'm miserable. So I'm in miserable state, right? And I'm proper depressed about keeping, and I'm like, I'm ruining all my animals, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm like, right, I need to sell some animals so I can get this peach throat. And then I start to hyperfixate, and then I'm like, I need to get this peach throat, and then I can make this peach throat work, and then blah 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 blah. I've got no money. How am I buying a peach throat? Now, I can find money, and I always do, and I'll pick up some overtime and this, that, and the other. But my philosophy right now is, like I'm sure you are with all your animals, I genuinely love all my animals. Like, there are some I love more than others. There's no point in lying. I do. But outside of my 2 snakes, I don't think I can rehome anyone. And the only animals I may or may not be rehoming are some mangroves, depending on their sex ratios. For example, if they all grow up and they're all boys, I'm not going to keep them all, because that's just like... But then on the same side of that coin, my brain is like, I don't want to sell any of them, because I've taken these animals from the wild, not on purpose, but they've come from the wild. And it's that same old thing, because like, this might get deep now, but where are they going to go? Because let's be honest, this isn't me blowing a trumpet, but not many people are going to care for them better than I will. Not saying I'm caring for them the best, but people are going to care for them better. So I know that they're not going somewhere with better care. They might go somewhere with bigger enclosures, but they're not going anywhere with better care. Like, I just refuse to believe that. And the reality is, the people that can give the same level of care as myself don't want them, because they're like, I don't want a fucking mangrove, because I know that they're a handful. So, is it moral for me to rehome my animals knowing that they're going to go to a lesser home because I want to get a peach throat? You see what I'm saying? Now my brain is like...
The problem with it, right, is this is one thing I'm struggling with as well, because you're going to move these animals on, right? If they do end up, so say for example, if any of my snakes end up in a rack, going from mine to someone else's rack, all that's done is taken the morality side of it off of my shoulders. That's all. I've just transferred it to someone that can deal. Well, that's the problem. You see, it has it. If all I'm doing is moving it out of my sight as such, and I'm just giving it someone else, and I'm going, right, that's not mine, not my problem, see you later. At what point am I going to stop and go, But the problem is I got myself into this situation in the first place by getting all of these animals.
Oh yeah, you haven't got to tell
Do you know what I mean? So it's one of them, like, do we just move them on and try and ignore it and try and forget about it and just concentrate on what we've got? Or is it a case of, I either can't get rid of them because I will not be able to live with myself and sleep at night knowing that they've gone somewhere where they're not as well looked after, or do I keep them and basically spread myself too thin financially, emotionally, time-wise, stress-wise, things like that? Like, where is it? Like, where does it stop? Do you know what I mean? So it's a tough one. It is a tough one, because I feel the same with my snakes. It's a case of, am I just shifting the ethical problems to someone else who might be able to deal with it over myself? Maybe. Does that make it right? Probably not. But will I feel better knowing that who I do keep is going to have a life that's 10 times better than what they're currently in? Yeah.
So with Gary's point, we can touch on it. So I want to breed Ackies and get a little business going. Then after a year or two, get an Argus, then an Asian water monitor. Then I quit. Just focus on the 4 species. So this is the thing, Gary. This is where my brain is right now. So let's just base it on the 4 species. For me, would be top of the list mangroves, then peach throats, then green tree monitors, and then probably Ackies, because I really adore my Ackies. But then I don't want to sell my Kimberley Rock monitors. I don't want to sell my Gilleneye. I don't want to sell my Boss monitor. I don't want to sell my bearded dragon.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, to have a successful project, you need multiple animals. So I could just have a pair of mangroves and make my life so much easier. But then if one dies, I won't be able to replace it because I've either got to deal with fat stock from the UK, and reality is, in several years they've all been. I've seen 4 mangroves in the UK up for sale already. Well, 4 people selling mangroves, and they've only been here since December. People have had these animals 4 months, and they've gone, yeah, fuck it, no, they're not for me. So that's only going to get worse as time progresses, and they're just going to dwindle out. So it's like, I only want to breed mangroves. That's the only animal I want to breed. All the other stuff is going to breed because I keep them in pairs and groups and shit. But I want to breed. But then I'm like, where do they go? Where do I put my captive bred mangroves?
Yeah.
Because 1, no one's going to pay the price. And 2, there's still some wild caught ones in pet shops for sale. So there's not really a market. So I'm like, why am I even going to breed them?
Do you know what will help? And I genuinely believe this as well. Because you're already building a brand, you are building a name for yourself. Yeah, people turn up for you week in, week out. People following you, literally. So I genuinely believe that at some point in the future, people would want to buy a mangrove monitor because it came from you. Now, does that help the situation? Possibly.
I get that with Ackies now, though. So people buy Ackies from me because they're from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that being said, so would they see, I want to keep a mangrove because I've seen how Paul keeps them. I want to emulate his enclosures. I want to make sure that I feed them the way he does. Because surely at that point you would sort of start going, yeah, I feel better about that. There's no guarantees, but with that bigger name, would that help? Like, instead of putting it on Pre-Loved or putting it on Morph Market, if someone's coming to you and saying, Paul, when you get a clutch of mangroves, please let me buy one from you because it's going to go into...
I've already had 3 people do that. Like, people made... But then, just quickly, chat wants to know, was that a seagull? It obviously was a seagull. Do you live right on the sea?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Sort of, yeah. Oh, well, I'm asking me. Yeah, it could very well.
But there's not seagulls here. We live in the middle of the woods.
Oh,
we might get a pigeon. But
yeah, no, it probably was a seagull. Yeah, I probably didn't hear it, to be fair. But the worst part is in the summer at 5 a.m. when the sun's up and they're screaming on the roofs and you've got the windows open because it's hot.
Fuck that. Yeah, I can't fart today, Gary, because my Crohn's is... I had to pop like 4 Imodiums before doing this podcast, and when me and Riddler in the little green screen room, I was like, Riddler, I need to go and use the toilet.
So I just did a quick bit of promo.
Yeah, so he just like shared it out. But yeah, anyway, enough of my toilet habits. So, because like I'm like, right, size of enclosures, right? So for example, you're saying to yourself, right, 4 by 2 by 2 for your Royals, for example.
Probably about that, yeah. Hopefully.
So let's just say that for the story. So 4 by 2 by 2 for your Royals, maybe smaller, maybe bigger, but that's what we're going with for now. So in my head, I was going to go for the mangroves, like a 12-foot long, 4 foot deep, 4 foot tall, and then have a divider. So it's a 6 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot. And then they live together until they are breeding on eggs. Anyway, I need to split them when the females grab it. But then I'm like, 6 by 4 by 4 for 1 is not enough. 12 by 4 by 4 for 2 is okay. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I could do 6 by 4 by 8 tall. I can do that. And then I can put a divider in the middle. So there's still 6 by 4 by 4s. And I can do that and like put a little shelf and put drop-in plate. I was like, okay, I can do that. But then I'm like, that's not big enough. And most people are probably like, yeah, it's fine. But I'm like, it's not big enough. So then I'm like, do I sell a couple of animals to be able to do an 8 by 4 by 8 for a pair? And all of a sudden that sounds so much better. You know, and then I don't know what's right, because I do say you should take the good from everything. So, for example, if someone's keeping in small enclosures but is contributing to the hobby, breeding species, regardless of the species, breeding species that need to be bred and is putting out information. For example, let's just say mangroves. Like let's just say I breed mangroves in small enclosures. I'm sharing all the signs of fertilogenesis and I'm sharing everything. yes, okay, I've got small enclosures, but do the small enclosures outweigh, well, does the knowledge and all the good stuff I'm producing outweigh the small enclosures? Or at the end of the day, is it just small enclosures?
Do you know what? Again, I don't think there's a right answer. I think it's a sense of your own personal morality. If someone can look at themselves and go, the enclosure is too small, but it will do, and what it is doing, it's helping the greater good of the hobby and blah blah blah, and they can go to bed and sleep at night knowing that it's a bit small but it's helping. That's one thing. If you're there going, it is helping, but you're up at 1 a.m. going, it's helping but it is quite small, it's at that point it's too small for you. I think that's what it is. I think a lot of people start looking at online things and guidelines, and here's what the minimum is, but I think a lot of it comes down to how you feel in yourself. If someone, because for example, I saw online, I had to double check a few times, but there was a couple of websites that were saying for a fully grown roughneck monitor, I think one of them was saying a 4x2x2 for a fully grown roughneck monitor. And what I had to do, because I didn't want to put it out on a YouTube video if I'd got it wrong. So I went back and I was like, no, it doesn't say for juveniles. It doesn't say for hatchlings. It doesn't say, it literally said it can be kept, but probably shouldn't. A 4x2. But I was thinking, if you're saying it probably shouldn't, don't say it. Because Ragnar is in an 8x5x4 sort of double tiered. It's quite hard to explain, but a big enclosure. And again, he uses every inch of it. And it's only going to get bigger. Like when I'm improving this reptile room, this enclosure is just going to get bigger.
Yeah. So Michael's not wrong. The issue with Paul's brain is that Michael could be in a 12x8x12, and I'd still like. So when Michael came over for AHH and stayed at my place, he walked into my room and he was literally like, it's like a pet shop, because obviously I've got vivs everywhere and bits and bobs. And then he was like, that's a decent size enclosure, like Mango's enclosure. I was like, it's fucking tiny. And he was like, so again, that proves the perspective point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's too small, because I had her, I'm open about it, I had her in a 6x3x3. She was laying eggs. I moved her into an 8x3x3. She's still laying eggs. So obviously I'm able to meet her environmental needs.
Yeah.
But when I upgraded her, because again, online when I got Mangroves was like 6x3x3, and I was like, okay. So I got the 6x3x3, and I was like, this is way too fucking small. A Mango's only 28 inches total length. But anyway, I put her in the 8x3x3 because it's what I had when we moved in. And I was like, it's too small, because all of a sudden she's now using every single bit of space. So I would love to have Mango in like an 8x8x8. But then I would say it's too small. So the 8x3x3 makes Mango look tiny in person. And the people that have come to my house to buy Akis that follow me on Instagram, they go, oh, where's Mango? Where? And then I show them Mango and they go, oh, is that it? Because she is tiny. But
I can believe it, because you were saying that she's smaller than Ragnar.
Yes, mate, she's not even 3 foot. She's literally like 26. Well, I measured her. She's about 28 inches total length. So she's not big at all.
Yeah.
But it's just like, hello, Amy. Howdy all. How's everyone doing? Shout out to Paul and Fee and all your maiden creators. Thank you very much, Amy. Any questions as well? Because I'm just sort of ranting. I mean, like, we'll get asked Riddler some questions. But any questions for Riddler or myself, please comment. But so it's perspective, because like, for example, let's just say, for example, with your Royals, because obviously you're the guest, let's make this podcast about you. So let's just say you were keeping, how many you're keeping? 4, 6?
I think I'm keeping about 6 of them.
Okay. So 4x2x2, let's just say, if you halve that, so now you're only keeping 3, just say, you could now give them 4x2x4. So is that, again, this is for myself, no judgment. Is that because you're like, I just can't rehome them, and that's the biggest I can now give? I'm not willing to rehome these animals. I've got too much of an emotional connection to them. Maybe one day they'll get bigger. Or is it a selfish thing? Is it like, you know what I mean? Like, where is your brain with that? Because for me, I'm like, I need to sell animals so I can give them huge enclosures. But selfishly, I don't want to sell my animals.
Yeah. There's a couple of them, for example, that cannot go anywhere. One of them was my first ever snake. Mrs. bought her for me for my birthday, right? She ain't going anywhere. Another one I bought for my missus. Wasn't even a birthday present. She just fell in love with her. I bought her that snake. She still loves her. And then there's a couple that I have almost developed like a sort of bond with, like my pinstripe pied male. He was on the list to go. But there was a few times that I was interacting with him and I was just like, this snake is cool. Like, he's just cool. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I cannot bring myself to sell him. Do you know what I mean? To move him on. Now, it's hard to sell any of them or move any of them on because I've got at least some form of attachment to all of them. But then you've got to look at a priority. You've got to look at it brutally and say, I don't want to get rid of any of them, but I have to. So who's not making the cut? And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's a case of who's staying and who could I live with myself letting go. Do you know what I mean? So, and yeah, you're right. Obviously, if I was to halve it again, they could have bigger enclosures. But if I can get them in something that makes me feel comfortable, like a 4x2x2 for a royal, I would feel comfortable with. Not perfectly happy, because again, I think similar to you, I'll never be perfectly happy with it. But I could look at a snake in that enclosure and go, fine. Like, I can go to bed at night and I can have a good night's sleep. But I also, as you know by now, I'm always looking, unfortunately sometimes too much, at the future and what could possibly be in the future and how big can I go and, you know, how much room will I have and can I put every single snake I have in a 6-foot enclosure and things like that. It doesn't help me now. It might take some of the weight off of my shoulders in the here and now.
It's just a coping mechanism though, isn't it? Because like me, I know you and I speak about this in DMs, but like me going, oh, one day Mango's going to get walking. Okay, one day I'm going to be a millionaire. One day I'm going to find 60 billion pounds under a tree. It's all fucking make believe. Like, it might happen, but the reality is they're in what they're in, and a minimum enclosure is the size that they're in right now. So, you know, like Nick's saying, it's a good mindset in the sense of like it never being enough. We're going to get him on the podcast at some point. I need to message him and actually get him on, but I think it is good to always strive for better. But then for me personally, I make it unhealthy. So like, especially if my brain is negative at that time, I look at my enclosures and I'm like, these animals deserve so much better. I'm a shit keeper. I'm this, but that's my own mental issues that does that. I know that, but I still go through it. And then I'm like, I need to give these animals more. Maybe I'll just sell everyone and then keep 4 animals in 8x8x8s. But then, like I say, it goes back to that thing of like, where do the animals go? Because I know that they're not getting better. Like I say, that's generally not me going, I'm the best keeper in the UK, because I'm not. But
it's a double-edged sword, man. It really is, because you're thinking to yourself, if I move animals on, the ones I keep will have a better life. But then the difference with me and you is we don't get rid of the animals and cut it off. See you later. By your history. In the back of your mind, you're going, how's that animal doing? Is that animal being looked after? Is it alive? Is it cared for in the way I cared for it? And that's the difficult thing. Like, if you're going to do it, you have to be able to cut it as best you can. And if you know you can't do that, then I don't think there's any point, because you're going to go from one stress in your mind to just a new one.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can win. So, like, have you been to Crocodiles of the World or not?
I haven't, and I need to.
You need to go. So, the setups that they have for their Becca and the setups that they have for their Pristinas and stuff is next level. And Michael, he and I are in the DM, so I will help arrange that. I talked to everybody. I thought Mango was bigger than that. Yeah, Mango's tiny. So, they've sort of answered it in the chat. How long do snakes even live?
I think royals upwards of about 20 years, to be fair.
Yeah, so Michael said 15 to 20 years.
15 to 20.
Royals will push 40. And I know someone with a 32-year-old royal.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for me to say because I've only been in the hobby for about 3 years, so or maybe 4 now. Probably about 4 now.
And look how far that you've come.
Oh, mate. I mean, you saw even today. Even just today, all I did was install 2 lights. I was like, Paul, look what I did. Like some fucking ruddy fanboy.
Literally, I was swearing from the get-go. Like,
well, yeah, that's true.
I need to get better when I'm monetized, but I'm not monetized yet, so
fuck it.
Let's talk about that then, because today, because you've just mentioned it, Riddler has just upgraded the lighting in 2 of his enclosures. I won't necessarily spoil which ones unless you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and then Jonas, Jonah, I've forgotten already. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty sure it's Jonas. I'm shit with names. Rose Lagan Reptiles. He's just upgraded like with LED lighting.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that you're starting to do that?
Impatient, because I only did 2 today out of the ones I've got. And as I've said to you before, once I get an idea in my head, I have to do it there. And even today, mate, I had time because I finished work at 2 o'clock. I went and did the weekly shop, got home, helped out with some bits, blah, blah, blah. So I had the time, but I also didn't at the same time. But I was there and I was thinking, shall we see what Jacob Hill up the boys? Yes, Jacob, the other half of Riddler Reptiles. What's popping?
What are those?
But I looked at it and I was like, but I have to do it now. I didn't have to do it now, but I was like, but let me just make a start. Yeah. So I ended up doing the bearded dragons today because they've both recently got bioactive upgrades, new substrate, plants, all of that. And as we know, they also needed LED lighting as well. They've come through the post and they've just been sat in the reptile room. And every time I come in here, I look at the boxes and go, can I do that now? Or
yeah.
I can't help myself. Like, it literally even got to the point that I was doing it. I was stood behind these 2 Vivs, wiring away, stripping cable, putting Wagos together, blah, blah, blah. And the missus did just sort of look over and go, why are you doing this now?
Yeah.
Which she says to me a lot, to be fair to her. And I was just like,
because there's no better time than the present.
And that's it. But the problem is I did those 2. I got them. I got the pictures. I was buzzing. And I was like, yeah, but I've still got 4 more enclosures that I need to do this to. Shall I do it now? No, I haven't got time to do it now. But the reason behind the impatience behind it, though, I think, is the amount of joy that it's been bringing me recently to bring my reptile keeping up to speed. Like, this isn't even me breaking boundaries and being the best keeper that I can be. This is me bringing it up to pretty much the minimum of where it should be. But it's making me happier.
Yeah.
We were eating dinner and I looked over at those Vivs and they were lit up and the beardies were loving life and the plants were popping. And I was just sat there going, do you know what I mean? It brings me joy to make these animals have that slightly better life.
Yeah.
I was, at the end of the day, the beardies, they've always had overhead heat, they've always had UVB, they've always had, access to water, which I know was like a little drinking bowl. So they've never been neglected, to the point where it's like, oh shit, I fucked up there. I have with the leopard geckos, I have with the snakes. Yeah, those are actual fuck ups. Like with Ragnar, his enclosure could be better, but I don't think I've fucked up.
Yeah,
I could make improvements, but he's not neglected. He is very much, I'm proud of the way he looks. There are things I'm missing. I'm not perfect, but it's not awful.
Yeah.
With the snakes, they're in tubs. The less said about that, the better. The leopard geckos, again, I was sold this thing of they're nocturnal. They don't need overhead heat. They don't need UVB. They don't need lighting. Whack a heat mat in there. A few hides, humid hide, jobs are good.
Yeah.
It's bollocks.
You and I had that epiphany, if you don't mind me sharing, about what I said about the UVB.
Yeah, no, mate, crack on. Because the more people that hear it and feel the same way that I did, the better.
Yeah, so fair play to you for sort of admitting your mistakes. Because I remember recently as well, because you were talking about your upgrade, and you're like, I need to get UVB for everybody, but I don't know who to prioritize, and I need to get LEDs for everybody. I don't know who to prioritize. Blah 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 blah. And then you were like, oh, I could prioritize this and I could prioritize that because the leopard geckos don't need UVB. And meanwhile, we were also talking separate conversation about people that don't keep monitors with UVB.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, oh, I can't believe that. Like, that's mind boggling. People don't keep. And I was like, I'll stop you there. Like, you don't keep your leopard geckos with UVB.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were like, well, what do you mean? They're nocturnal. Like you're saying, you were sold this dream. You were in this echo chamber. You didn't realize any different. And
Mm-hmm.
the key is for me not to go, well, you're a fucking idiot, then aren't you? Because otherwise you're going to go, well, hold on, mate. I've been told that, you know, and then instead I basically explained it by going, you know, UVB isn't just to like metabolize calcium, right? And you know that you saying, oh, I can't believe these monitors don't have UVB is exactly the same as someone else listening in going, I can't believe you're saying leopard geckos don't need UVB.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we're in this little echo chamber and all animals need it for different reasons at different points at different levels, but all animals need it.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you were like, fucking hell, yeah, okay, I'm going to get them some UVB. So,
and literally upstairs, because I don't know how I've managed it, but I've sort of got 2 reptile rooms in this house accidentally. They're in the what I call the games room. It's where my PlayStation and Xbox are that I don't touch anymore because I haven't got time. And upstairs in that room with the 2 leopard gecko enclosures are overhead heat lamps, UVB and LED lighting. They're there. It's ready to go. Now, obviously, I'm away this week, so I can't do it this week. But every time I see it, I'm like, I need to do it now. I need to get on with it. But it's coming, and they're happier than they were before, for sure. But there's that thing in my head where I'm like, well, I know what I need to do to make it better. So why am I not doing it here and now? But I haven't got the time. I've got a little boy. I've got a wife that I need to obviously have to spend time with. And I want, not saying that's a chore, by the way, like I have to spend time with her. But
you got to shut up there, otherwise Fee's going to get in the chat and be like, what? You spend time with your... Because, mate, she lucky to get 5 minutes from me.
But you know what I mean? It's like, I've still got life to live as well. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I fit getting those lights in earlier on somehow. And I'm buzzing about it. And I know for a fact that when I get back from my trip this week, I can then concentrate on some other ones. And I know that the improvements are coming, which does make me feel better. And like you were saying, like, you know, me going, oh, these people don't keep monitors with UVB. Is that a fucking joke? And then you going, you don't keep leopard geckos with UVB. Is that a fucking joke? Yeah. It's again, like, it's one of them. Because like you said, with the echo chamber, the problem is people hear nocturnal and they go, never in the sun, ever, don't need light, keep it dark. There's still a day and night cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you say, there's more to it than just metabolizing calcium.
Yeah.
So, because I'll tell you what, let me put it this way. So obviously my missus isn't as into reptiles as I am. She loves them, fine.
Yeah.
But just as an example, she saw the bearded dragon enclosures earlier on with the LEDs in there, and she went, do they like it that bright though? That's really bright. And I stopped and I went, they come from the desert.
Yeah.
And she went, oh yeah. I went, so yeah, they're absolutely fine. But even me, I'm not going to lie, for a split second when the LED went on, I went, Jesus, that is bright. But it looks superb.
Yeah.
They obviously prefer it. And it's just more, it's just better for everyone. Do you know what I mean? So, but when you're in that thing of people saying to you, they just need belly heat so that they can digest. I didn't know any better. I did not know any better. That's the problem.
Yeah. So Amy's asked, keep the questions coming, guys. Currently, a friend is helping me build an 8x4x4 for my Savannah monitor. We are now discussing heating and lighting. If I can ask you both, how many heat lamps and how much lighting would you recommend? I'm going to let you answer first because I'm the qualified one.
Well, from what I've learned so far, halogen for overhead heat, obviously UVB, Savannah, well, Bosks, what would that be? A 12% UVB? Are they sort of?
Yeah, so basically you want a basking spot to cover your lizard, because if you're the problem
the
is
whole
big
body,
lizard,
isn't it?
Yeah. So if you've got a big lizard, the problem is if you've got one spot on its back, it has to sit under that one spot until its whole body heats up to X temperature. Now, if you haven't got a good enough wide angle beam, or you haven't got like domes can help, or if you haven't got multiple basking spots to cover the length of the lizard will heat up on a certain spot and you'll start to get solar burns, thermal burns. So have a basking spot that's going to cover the lizard, and you want halogens for that. Whether that's tungsten halogen or whether that's an incandescent, it's irrelevant. They do the same thing. Tungsten halogens give you more energy per watt because of the way that they heat. So a tungsten halogen, let me get that right. Yeah, a tungsten halogen, for example, you could buy a 50-watt tungsten halogen and it would give you the same heat as a 100-watt incandescent. That's not the exact figures, but that sort of thing. You want 12 to 14% UVB, depending on how high you are away from the basking spot. That ideally wants to be the length of the lizard. So if you've got a 4-foot Savannah Bosque, you want a 4-foot UVB. I would recommend putting in 4 or 5 6-foot LED 6,500 Kelvin IP65 battens, which is basically just a waterproof light that's 6,500 Kelvin, so it's bright as fuck in there. But you don't want to have an incredibly bright enclosure with no places to hide, because sometimes animals do want shade, sometimes animals do want to get out of the sun, sometimes animals do just want to hide, sometimes animals just don't want to be seen. So make sure you create natural breaks with bark and branches and plants and leaves. Create a burrow, especially for a bosque. Like ideally heat a part of the soil if you can, just so they've got a nice humid hide. I think that's about it, really.
Yeah. Essentially, like what we've been going off of, everyone in this house at some point is going to have overhead heat, UVB, LEDs.
Yeah.
Essentially. Because I'm trying to go bioactive for everyone as well. The plants do better, the little critters do better, everyone does better. So it's win-win.
So, I mean, I'm really behind on the chat. So I'm gonna ask, what's your biggest regret since getting Ragnar the Roughneck monitor? To do with him, obviously.
My biggest regret since getting Ragnar. The thing is, obviously, one of the ones I could say is not doing enough research. The problem is there's not masses out there. Now, I could have done more. Fine. I fully hold my hands up and admit that all day, every day. I basically walked into the reptile shop that I was part owner of at the time. He was in an enclosure. I said, what is it? I need it. I need to take him home. The people that owned the reptile shop with me were supposedly more knowledgeable than me. He said to me, get it in an enclosure this big, 2 mercury vapor bulbs, 1 on either side, cool area, hotter area, jobs are good, and keep it humid. That's it. Now, I took that as gospel because, again, I didn't know anyone else that knew this stuff. All right, I typed in roughneck monitor care on Google.
And you got told to put it in a 4x2x2.
Exactly, yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. That was never the plan. Like, I literally saw monitor and I thought, this needs a big enclosure. So I wish I'd done more research and maybe, but again, the problem is I can't blame myself for the MVBs, because he said to me, a mercury vapor bulb is heat and UV, so you don't need them separately. Who am I to question a reptile shop owner of 5-10 years and go, oh, well, Google says otherwise? Do you know what I mean? It's almost like I put their knowledge above Google. So it's like I have everything I need here. So it's a hard one. It's a difficult one to say, because it has been a learning curve. It's a tough one because I've been learning as I've been going, and obviously, especially since meeting yourself as well. It's these little things that pop up.
What's the biggest thing that you've learned so far then? Like, if there's one the one piece of advice outside of doing your research, or the one piece of tip or whatever for someone watching this contemplating getting either a rarer species with not a lot of care out there, or B, a roughneck monitor themselves, or both, what's like the biggest thing that you've learned that you would like to just put out into the ethos now for someone listening?
Conveniently, it probably would be to do with heating and lighting. Because it seems as though, and again, I'm happy to admit this, that my heating and lighting for Ragnar has been substandard, and part of that, it makes me feel a little bit bad because in a way, I put up a rough guide to keeping roughneck monitors video. Yeah. Now, to be fair, I did put in that video, his mercury vapor bulbs are getting upgraded and he's going to get overhead heat and he's going to get UVB. But I now look at that, and that's my most viewed video of over 1,000 views. And I look at it and I go, but did people hear that part, or are they going to go out and get mercury vapors? Because they shouldn't. They shouldn't be going out and getting mercury vapors. They should be getting, halogen heating and UVB and LEDs and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, shit, I need to do another video ASAP and make sure it's like, oh, forget that last one. Everyone watch this one instead. But that's how you learn. That's how you progress as a keeper and a person. And it's all about the journey as well. As long as you're not being a dickhead about it, I can hold my hands up and admit that I've done things, I don't want to say wrong, but inadequate. Because he's done very well. He's quite a healthy looking monitor. I mean, we've seen a couple recently, haven't we, between us that are
obese.
Yeah. He's not. Do you know what I mean? So I can't be doing too badly, but the same thing is like the thing that you have as well is I'm like, oh shit, I've done wrong there. That means I'm a piece of shit. I must improve it now, instead of getting home instead of getting home and going, right, I need to cook us dinner. I go, right, I need to get in there and sort his lighting out. No, he's cool. He's cool. He'll be all right for another week or two. But yeah, I'd probably say the heating and lighting it's a lot bigger and a lot more important than I think a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah. So just quickly on that, I'm a huge believer in DP emitters. So I found with DP, because obviously DP gives, I forget which way around it is. It either gives you short wavelength or long wavelength infrared. If someone knows which one it is, please tell me. But basically, they're giving you infrared A and infrared B. And then obviously, if you use it to heat up something, it gives you infrared C. Because when infrared C is the same as a ceramic heat emitter or a heat mat, so it's basically a reflection of heat rather than a projection of heat. But halogen gives you exactly the same. But I found gravid females tend to pick deep heat, so I always put a deep heat in an enclosure where I've got gravid females. And then people are just talking about lighting quickly. I haven't tried out Solar Raptors yet, but I want to try out Solar Raptors, and my laptop's on a go slow. But so from where we were, obviously, because 4 months ago, you wanted to give him away to me to give him a better life and bits and bobs, bit for your own selfish agenda, bit for his selfish agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think your biggest, how can I word this? Where do you think your biggest improvement has come to do with him? Like, what is the one thing that you think to yourself you're the most proud of since deciding that you're going to keep this dragon in your house?
I think it's the fact that I'm willing to learn and improve little bits at a time. Like, because it's weird, because you said, what's the biggest? The biggest thing is the little things. For example, put him in a log that's vertical. All right, sweet. About 5 minutes later, he's hanging off of it, looking at me like, yeah, this is sick. And I'm there going, this is sick. Do you know what I mean? And all it took was that, and my mood and morale just went, whoop, see you later. I changed the bottom half of his enclosure, the substrate, into something that he could dig and it would hold more humidity. I whacked some leaf litter down. Beautiful, lovely. I felt better. It's these little improvements that I'm making that I go, he's happier now. That makes me go, I'm happier now. And now I've got these new things that are coming. Like, I dropped a lot of money on lighting and heating recently. Luckily, it was birthday money, which also helped because it was free money. But I look at it and I go, when that's in, that is going to be game changing. And I'm buzzing for him. Like, he has no idea. Do you know what I mean? He's still looking at me going, well, where are my bugs? And I want more food. But he doesn't know that the upgrade he's going to get is going to be sick. And for me, that lifts me up every single time I do something new for him. So it's about making these small improvements, because you, like I've said before, you don't have to do everything in one hit, you know, because it's like on a setup, yeah, you probably should, but making these little improvements, like I'm going to whack this login, I'm going to give him a
I think
bigger
it's
place
about knowing the priority list, though.
Yeah,
because we've spoken about this, obviously, haven't we?
Yeah.
So it's what you prioritize, because as long as, like you say, you're in phases of upgrading everyone, it's impossible to do it all tomorrow. Like, none of us have the money to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just a case of understanding who needs it more. And for example, okay, I can put 40 quid into that enclosure, and that's that enclosure done, but I need 80 quid for that enclosure. But it's going to take me 3 months to save 80 quid, but only 1 month to save 40 quid. But the 80 quid is better spent. So leave the 40 quid, wait the 3 months, and then do the 80 quid upgrade that's needed more.
Yeah.
Is my opinion on that, but I don't disagree. And like, I've kept reptiles for 30 years. I haven't, because I'm not even 30 years old. Put your hands up. Put your hands up if you're in the club. I would never stop learning and listening to others. Yeah, what exactly? Like, I actually remember you messaged me, and I don't know why I'm saying it. Am I saying it correctly when I say Ros Logan? For some reason, the letters just jumble in my head. But anyway, Jonas, he actually messaged me, and he was like, "I'm grateful for younger keepers such as yourself, because they're changing the way it is, you know." So like, fair play to you for actually messaging me and being humble enough to go like, yeah, because a lot of people would have just taken my advice and then ran, but you actually like took the time to give me a reply, and we've been speaking since. So I appreciate that. And Michael's saying I regret not taking Ragnar. I've said to you personally, I regret not taking Ragnar, and I've said, oh no, that's the wrong chat. But that's the wrong thing. But I've said to you personally, I regret not taking Ragnar, and I've said in our personal group chat that I regret taking Ragnar. But is there any other species that interest you, Riddler?
The list is long, to be fair. Now that I've broken away from the cycle of morphs, and just going for royals and having every colour under the sun, because I look at it now and I go, but there's so much more to reptile keeping, so much more. Because obviously, like, one of your quickfire questions was arid or tropical. Well, you can have both. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the top of my list, one of the things that I want realistically next, because you know that Green Tree Monitor is up here, but at the minute it's not realistic.
You and Michael are going to be like, wow, because he wants
to. one of the ones that's a bit more realistic, I'd love a Brazilian rainbow boa. I like snakes, and that's a beautiful snake. But then I look and I'm like, I've always wanted a frilled dragon. Like, these are, I don't want to say basic, like, they're animals at the end of the day, but yeah, there's plenty of species that interest me. Like monitors, I am getting the bug. I really am. It's like, do you remember when Mr. Will Exotic, for example, put up his video of the Pilbarers?
Yeah, and you wanted a Kimberly off me as well.
Yeah, I messaged you. I was like, where do I get Pilbara monitors? Because they are sick. And you were like, good luck.
You and Michael are the same person, because Michael wants Pilbara. Michael wants King. Michael wants a King, or Michael wants King. For fuck's sake. Michael wants Kimberleys. He's now got Kimberleys because of your boy. Yeah. But I basically think he's trying to trick you to say that you want pink tongue skinks, is basically what I think he's trying to do.
I forgot about that. Pink tongue skinks. I'd like a pink, but you know what? I don't really know anyone that's.
Was that me or you?
No, that was me. No, I said I don't want to call them basic, but it's like it's a more achievable animal to get. Do you know what I mean? But at least I think so. Anyway, I mean, definitely more so than a Pilbara, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're rocking on shit. They are.
Yeah. But yeah, pink tongue skink. Yeah, I wouldn't mind one of them at some point. If you know anyone that's breeding them and selling them, obviously, let me know.
I don't know anyone.
Do you not? No. All right, fair enough.
Everyone is interested. Longfield Reptiles and Aquatics on Instagram has just got UK captive bred pink tongue skinks,
and they are
stunning.
cute as fuck.
So yeah,
and I want one.
get them. So we're getting. I'm going to share this one because it's a little bit of like promotion for myself. I'm very grateful for the fellowship. I continue to learn all the time. So I had a guy message me last night, and he was like, "Hey man, I know it's late over there. Really sorry to message you. Blah 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 blah." And it was like 4 a.m. And because I was awake, I just replied, and I basically gave him some help through mangroves and stuff. He was like, "Oh man, that's so sick. Thank you so much. Like, thank you for replying." This, I was like, "This is what I'm doing." And then he was like, "Oh, is there anything I can do to repay you?" I was like, "No, just make sure that your mangrove's happy." And then he was like, "Anyway, I've got to go." Like, I think he worded it like some chick rather than like his girlfriend. So I don't know if it was a side piece or what, but he was like, "Some chick is
what it is."
Yeah, I don't judge, but he was like, "Some chick is telling me to stop messaging the mangrove man." And he was like, "You've made it." I was like, "Yeah." So, but yeah, speaking of fake fans, everyone go and comment on his most recent Instagram post and say, "Fuck Will Exotic."
Or fake fan, drop an L.
Just fake fan. So Michael's saying, what monitor? We sort of touched on it. Green trees and Pilbarensis.
Definitely, green trees are just, for me, the top of the list. I think they are just, because the thing is, there was a little bit of time that I was like, "Oh, blue tree," but for some reason, every time I see a green tree, I just go, "Oh." I'm just like, it's not even a want. I need a green tree monitor.
I know a guy.
I know you do.
And I know one for sale right now.
I know, and it upsets me because I cannot physically get one right now. I will in the future. But yeah, so that's top of the list. I'm still up for the idea of more roughnecks because I've fallen in love with the species. It's quite simple. Ragnar has made me fall in love with the species. It is a possibility. We'll see what happens in the future.
What's your favorite animal, full stop, that you've ever kept outside of your dog? Like, what's your favorite, full stop? Sorry to cut you short, but like, I'm not sure if you'll feel the same with Ragnar like I do Mango. It's like Ragnar, or have you got, out of all the animals you've ever owned in your entire life, outside of your dog? Because I'm assuming your dog's probably your favorite.
Yeah.
So
I had to think there for a second because she's a bit of a wanker sometimes, but it is what it is.
That's it. Fee's gonna hate you now. But outside of Aya Bear, who is your most favoritist animal that you've ever owned?
So it is quite tough. Like, I give my current cats a lot of shit. Like, I'm sorry, Fee, if you are still in the chat, which I'm assuming you are. My cats piss me off. Right, I love them. Don't let my missus hear me say that because I tell her I don't. But when we had, as a,
I don't.
That's true.
What did
that's
you say?
Actually
I generally forgot.
I said she can be a wanker sometimes, or she's So, which to be fair, she probably gets it from me anyway.
Okay.
But when
you taught her well.
So when I was younger, when I was still living at home, we got our first ever cats were both my fault. I always wanted a cat, always wanted a cat. Parents said no because we were too young, blah, 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 blah. Eventually they said, all right, you can have a cat. We'll go to the RSPCA. We saw a cat and she was in the RSPCA with her sister. And my dad was like, are we allowed to just have one? And she was like, no, you have both. We went in, we fell in love with both. Now, all we needed to do was convince my mum. So my dad called my mum. He said, we found a cat. Oh, yeah. And she's with her sister. And my mum was like, well, no, we're not having two. She came along, fell in love with both, had them for, I think one of them lived for about 13 years, the other one for 15. These were special cats to me. They were my first ever, I don't want to say proper animal, but outside of, your little gerbils and goldfish, they were the first actual pets we had. And they were really, really special to me. And it broke my heart when they died. Like, awful. I was a grown man crying over a cat dying, which no shame in that.
No.
However, Ragnar is very, very high on the list. He's up there. He's very much up there. Like, because one of the ones I wanted to say was my first ever royal. Fine. I do love that royal. She's beautiful. She's a lovely snake. But Ragnar is just a different kettle of fish. Like now that I understand, do you know what? I tell you what helped again was my understanding of monitors in general, because I was saying to you, do you want this monitor? Because I haven't got the time to spend with him. And you turned around and went, why do you need to spend time with him? He's not a fucking cat.
He's not a cat. Yeah.
It's not a cat. It's not a dog. If you want an animal you can spend time with, get a cat or a dog. And I said, I've got both already. Cheers.
Yeah.
And it's more that you can appreciate from a distance. Now, Ragnar is still happy to climb up my leg or climb on my arm to eat and things like that, and will interact as such. But I don't have to spend time with him. I can just sit in this room and just watch him. Do you know what I mean? But it's just the presence. It's just this little mini dinosaur living in my house that I look at. It's the first thing that I show people. Let me put it this way. Tomorrow, when I'm going away, but one of my friends is coming around first, and I'm going to drive us both to where we're going. I've already said to him, you've got to come in for 5 minutes to meet Ragnar.
Yeah.
About 5 minutes later, I went, oh, shit, yeah, actually, and my wife and my newborn, or not newborn, and my 1-year-old son as well. You should probably say hello to them. I said to him, you need to come out and meet Ragnar.
Yeah.
Is what it is, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So he's up there because he's shown me a new side of keeping animals. Like you can appreciate from a distance and still fall in love with an animal. And yeah, he's just an incredible animal. He really is.
I find with monitors though, like they reward your keeping. So for example, when you added that something as simple as just a vertical branch, like he was instantly on it, doing pretty much what I said he would do. Yeah. You know, does he use she use the nest box much or no?
Quite often, actually. When I first put it in there, he, she, they, them was in there quite a lot. I think it was something new. Obviously, I was every now and again going, shall I dig around in there? But nothing's ever come of it. But yeah, I put it in there, and within a little while, I work with jaguars and.
Yeah, Nick and I speak. He sent me some. He works at a zoo. I forget which zoo it is. It's somewhere in Amsterdam. Yeah, he sent me some pictures. I think it was a baby jaguar that he sent me a picture of the other day. The thing was like cute as hell, man.
Jaguars are my favorite animal in the world.
Oh, that's cool. Jaguars are cool. I do like jaguars.
For me personally, I find because obviously you've got your lions and your tigers, but for me, an animal that has that sort of biting force and things like that, and they're just that beautiful. For me, they are top of the list. For me, I love jaguars. They are stunning.
Yeah, jaguars are cool.
But yeah,
So,
but yeah.
No, you carry on. If you're carrying on,
I can't remember what we were saying.
Neither can I, to be honest. So, anyone else got any further questions? Please do ask them, because myself and Riddler are both on time schedules tonight, because I didn't sleep and Riddler has got to get up early. So we're going to start to wind down in the next 20 or so minutes. No exact deadline, but it's not going to go 4 hours like my last one, because I'd probably need the toilet before then. So, so obviously you said on here that you're not looking to move, and obviously you're now potentially expanding the current reptile room. What is, I don't want to like overthrow your brain, but what is in the plans now for that then? Is it downsize the Royals, get those in Vivs, and then outside of that, what's the next plan from Reptile Room 2.0 but 1.0?
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5, yeah, okay.
It's a tough one, because the thing is, we've been so engrossed in possibly moving. It's literally been our lives for the last, probably 5 or 6 months. It's all we've been trying to do. You know, any viewings come in. Yeah, there's a viewing. We've got to clean the house top to bottom. Is that house that we really like still on the market? Blah, 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 blah. All of that. So it's been hard, because now that we've decided to stay, now we're looking at, right, what can we do to this house to improve it, basically?
Yeah.
So those are on the lists.
More lizards is what we'll improve.
More lizards is always an improvement. Yeah.
You could get an Aki. I know a guy.
Mate, Aki is on the list. In actual fact, you know what?
I'll give you
M is game for us getting an Aki from Paul's Monitors. The problem is, at the minute, we haven't really got anywhere to put him. So that's the problem. But we are going to get a Paul's Monitors Aki. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, with regards to reptile wise, what I've had to convince myself of, and this is again something that we were speaking about, currently spraying my frillies. Oh, he hasn't got frillies as well, has he?
Yeah, he's got a pair. That's why his pictures are frilly. That's his male. He's got a pair of frillies, pair of ackies, pair of pink tongues. I wanted to say a trio, but it's not a trio. Pair of pink tongues. What else has he got? He's got a pair of like mountain horn dragons, but they're not mountain horn dragons. They're like rarer, smaller ones. He's got several fish tanks because he's a fish boy.
Hey, same.
Yeah, he's like a proper fish nerd. What else has he got? Now got 2 Kimberleys, bearded dragon, several royals, all in Vivs. What else?
Well, this is it. Well, because obviously there was one of my Instagram stories I put up recently was basically saying, don't make my mistake, and make sure that you're happy with, or that you've upgraded and have your current animals in as good a setup as feasibly possible before you start buying more. Because that was my problem. What I did is I got some royals and I was like, right, they're going to have this and that. And then we got bearded dragons. I was like, lovely job. All right, they're sorted. Oh, look, the shop has said that I can have a couple of leopard geckos. All right, I'll get them. I'm going to start doing that. Oh, before I do that, I've got a crested gecko. Oh, before I do that, I've got a roughneck monitor. Before you know it, your list of improvements that you need to make, it goes from I need to spend 50 quid to I need to spend 300 quid. Do you know what I mean? So at the minute, what part of UK are you in? I'm in Devon, Dan. I'm down in Devon.
We got a road trip in 2 weeks, Dan.
Yeah, boy, that's going to be sick.
Riddler and Paul's Monitors collaboration.
Yeah,
it is in 2. It's just less than 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm coming down. I'm meeting Ragnar. Anyway, carry on.
So that's the thing. So for the minute, what I need to do, because again, this is me battling with my mind, as we've spoken about before. It's easy to do something you'd want to do more, but you need to look at the animals you've currently got. So at the minute, what I'm convincing myself to do is stop getting animals.
You literally, mate, you're sounding like me. We need to stop talking because I think I'm obviously you come to me with these. I'm not saying this is me, but it's funny for this story. Yeah. I'm influencing you too much. We need to cut ties. Like literally, like all that you're saying is like what's in my head right now.
Yeah.
And for a split second, then in my head went, "Shut up, Paul." Not to you to be rude, because I thought on my own head was having a conversation with itself. So I was telling myself to shut up to try and listen to you. But anyway, as you were,
it's a constant battle, though. That's the problem, because, like I say, you've got Michael there, just like tagging me in his pictures of his baby pink tongues. Going,
well, he's just saying that you don't pay enough attention because you obviously don't see his frillies. And then Fee's saying you're both as bad. She's like, who are you talking to now? So it's a combination between either like Matt, the true monarch breeder, Michael, or you, for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I think that has to take precedence for me. But like you say, it's a constant battle because, like I say, as I was saying before, with Michael there tagging me in pictures of pink tongues, I'm there going,
you bastard.
I wonder if I could fit one in here somewhere. And I'm like, well, you never know. But I'm like, no. Concentrate on the ones you've got first. Otherwise, you're going to be in the same predicament in a few months' time where you go, shit, I've got 10 animals I need to upgrade instead of 3. So,
yeah, for sure. So, what is your opinion on Roughnecks and Argus monitors?
Roughnecks are simply one of the most incredible looking monitors you can get. Even if they are bland in colour, that neck, those claws, that beak-like nose, just the presence for me. And like I say, I'm only saying this because I've only ever had one monitor, that's Ragnar. But I've seen other monitors and I love them all. But he has made me fall in love with this species because the amount of close-up macro shots I've got of just his neck is ridiculous. And I just look at it and I'm there going, that's mad. That's crazy, bro. You know what I mean? So
I've only ever seen one in person. That's it. I've only ever seen one, and that was at a pet shop and it was hiding. So when I meet Ragnar, is going to be the first time I've ever properly seen a Rudicolis.
Oh yeah, he won't be hiding either.
Is that a threat? But yeah,
knowing him, yeah, probably.
I'm really looking forward to meeting Ragnar. But yeah, what about Argus monitors?
Argus monitors, I don't have any experience with personally, but from what I've seen, they're just, again, another stunning animal. They really are. They just... It's hard for me to say because, like I say, I've not had that experience. It's only from what I've seen on YouTube, Instagram, this and that. From what I've heard, they haven't got as bad of a reputation as some other monitors when it comes to sociability. Is that a word?
Socialization, I would have gone
socialization,
for. Sounded good.
Yeah, or do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure, but I've not heard many horror stories about them being dickheads as such.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in, Ben. Thank you very much
easy,
for your
Ben.
time. I love Rudicolis. I think they're great. I can't lie, I do regret not taking Ragnar. I'm not going to touch on it too much because obviously we spoke about it earlier, but I am glad that I convinced you to keep him because he's your baby, not mine. But I do think Rudicolis are incredible. Argus, I don't really like him. I like them as a monitor. I think they're shit pets. You know, they're too big. The Argus monitors in the wild will roam miles. You know, you can't. There's a few people that do it well, but even they're just too big for me. And they can be pretty dangerous. Because they're incredibly athletic. They're one of the most athletic monitors out there, especially if you've got a lean, mean one. And there was a lady that works at a reptile shop down this way that was fucking with one and it took her finger off. So, well, I say it took her finger off. She needed surgery to save the finger.
That's a case of fuck around and find out.
Yeah, so they can be, like all monitors, like an Aki can give you a nasty bite, but in the wrong hands, Rudicolis and Argus, but especially Argus, will ruin your day. So Fee is saying that where is she? She's a third person in her own relationship. Yeah. It is a bit like that. I won't lie. I'm not even going to try and dispute it. She's
well, it's funny because, like I say, even earlier on, I reminded my missus that I was on the podcast and she went, I said, that's the one with Paul, isn't it? I was like, yeah. She said, all right, well, I'll see you tomorrow.
You're like, no. I got to get up early. We got to go. Paul's not feeling great, so it won't be that long.
Sighed and rolled her eyes and went, yeah, all right, mate.
Yeah. I always do this to Fee. I say to her, I'm like, oh, it'll only be a few hours. And then I'm like on a podcast for 4 hours and I come back and she's like in bed asleep. And I'm like, sorry.
Well, there was one point that we were voice noting. And I was in the living room and she looked over and she went, what the fuck are you talking about now? She said, you just don't stop. I was like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll just start randomly talking because I voice note everyone, to be fair, because I'm too lazy to type. And then I can voice note whilst I'm doing stuff. But she's like, you talking to me? I'm like, no. And at this point, she generally doesn't respond to me talking now because she's assuming I'm voice noting. So I could literally be like, I don't know, I could be like, I love you. And she'd be like, oh, I didn't realize you were talking to me. I thought you were talking to someone else. Like something like relative to like just I could say like the deepest, darkest secret in our relationship. And she'll be like, I didn't realize you were talking to me because I just voice note so many. So, but yeah. So Eleanor said the same thing. Oh, your monitor guys. Yeah. Sunday night is monitor time.
Yeah.
I'm going to touch on the Russian tortoise in a sec. Anna got me a pair of headphones for Christmas. Shit. I'm pretty sure you even said that Anna was like that me and Michael were in a more of a relationship. Oh my God, fuck's sake. This is all. Anyway, back to reptiles, you bunch of dickheads. Have you heard about Russian tortoises living the longest of any species? It's a theory. I don't think Russian tortoises live longer than like sea turtles, or like Galapagos tortoises, but I mean, I could be wrong.
I know nothing about it. I couldn't even touch on the subject because I don't know enough about it. That's one thing I'll give myself credit for. If I don't know something, I won't sit there and try and bullshit anyone. I'll go, look, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll try and direct you to someone that does.
I think that's a better way to be, because I think if I was like, oh yeah, actually they live the third long, I'm just like a twat.
Yeah. Eventually you'll get found out. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like I say, like Galapagos and bits and bobs will live longer, and sea turtles will live longer. Like what's his face, Crush from Nemo, 150 years, dude, and still young. Oh, Mike is back. It's not.
What's
Mike,
going on,
honestly.
Mike?
Hello,
Blimey,
hello,
we've been
hello.
on that long.
Yeah, so like I say, we are going to start wrapping up in the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, like something like that. So everyone, get your final questions in now, because like I say, this isn't going to be a 4-hour episode. It's because I kept holding my phone to my ear in case Paul said something incriminating. You can never be too careful when you're talking to me. So never trust the voice notes. Never trust the voice notes. This is like really going off topic. It's a theory because they hibernate a long time of the year and have such slow. Yeah, I don't disagree. I've just never really heard of one getting over 100, and I know sea turtles get over 100. And there's like Lonesome George, who's like 150. He was like the oldest living land animal, so I can't see Russian tortoises living older than them. But yeah, I mean, like I say, we are going to start wrapping up soon enough. But is there anything like you want to ask me? Is there anything you want to discuss, like yourself, you want to get into before we start like properly wrapping up? Is there anything you want to touch on? Because like I say, this has been a bit of a therapy session for me. I think we have touched on some good topics that people need to think about. And someone even did mention that, so thank you. But yeah, is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything you want to talk about before we do start wrapping up?
I'm almost certain there was, and now that I'm here, I'm like, oh shit, what was it? The thing is, we speak about so much.
Yeah, I found this quite hard because
I
we talk a
sometimes
lot.
forget. Yeah, because it's like I don't want to. It's almost like I feel like we're repeating ourselves, but we're not because we've spoken about most of this personally.
Yeah, in private.
It's what have you seen, or would you say that the reptile community is improving with social media, or is it being exposed?
I think it depends where you look.
Because we speak about social media a lot.
Yeah, I know Chaz from Snakes and Adders is not on purpose, but I know he's putting out a couple of posts to be able to spark debate. And it's basically a lot of Facebook a lot of pages on Facebook shops have been taken down just randomly out of nowhere. I think social media overall long term will be beneficial. I think right now it puts a lot of exposure onto, I'm just going to say it bluntly, racks, and people that don't understand the hobby are now exposed to that. And shows where I don't really like shows. I think I've never been to a reptile show for this reason. I am going to go to my first one this year, and I know that I'm not going to like it. But they are just cattle markets, they put all these animals in small tiny boxes, and the reptile people justify it by going, oh, it's just there for a day or two and then it goes to its enclosure. I personally don't agree with it, and I will be going there to support it, so hypocritical Paul. But I think people that don't understand it, like I understand it serves a purpose and it's good for socialization, for the hobby, socializing, whatever you and it's good for the hobby, and it's good. It's not necessarily good for the animals, but in the long term, like an animal could be going to someone who's going to treat it incredible. And so overall it is good for the animals. But I think the problem is that, like, I've just had a reel go crazy. It's like now on 600,000 views. Nice. And it's just a green tree monitor coming out of a naturalistic enclosure climbing up my arm, and I've had no hate on it. But I imagine if it was a snake in a box that's gotten 600,000 views, I'd have had at least a few comments that were like, this is disgusting. So, but just quickly on this, sorry. Thank you, Chris, for tuning in, mate. I'm
Take it easy, soon. Chris.
We haven't spoken enough, mate. So don't be a stranger. I know I haven't messaged you, so I'm not blaming you. But like, don't be a stranger. Like, send me a message. I hope you're good. But yeah, so I think overall, in the long term, it will be better. But So like I'm trying to put more descriptions in my posts, because let's just keep it onto positive stuff. People see the tree monitor looking cool and jumping onto me, and I just put super cool tree monitor, and then all of a sudden that gives this false perception of how much work that I've had to put in. So I think also at the same time, when I'm showing positive stuff, it's still negative, because it's just a highlight reel. So I'm trying to put more descriptions to the actual reality. Sometimes people don't even read it, because like I'll be like, this mangrove monitor, blah 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 blah, and then someone will comment, what species? Like,
100%.
and then I want to be like, fucking read the caption.
Read the caption.
It's literally one in the first line, because some of my captions are quite long. I'm a terrible reader, so I don't expect people to read it. And so I will reply and just be like, mangrove monitors. But I think overall it'll be good. I think people need to be a bit more responsible with what they're posting, or what's the word I'm thinking of? Showing a bit more working out to the final product, if that makes sense. What's your opinion on it?
No, I agree. It's same with most things. There's positives and negatives in the whole thing. I think it depends what you go looking for. If you're the sort of person that goes out looking for the bad so that you can comment on it and say this is bad, that's all you're going to see. However, like that comment right there, it's easier because we can have chats like this. If you go looking for improvement in the way of surrounding yourself with better keepers, with more experienced keepers, then it can only get better. Now there's the differentiating between the good and bad, I guess you could call it. It could be a grey area. But then you've got things like Jay Brewer, for example. Obviously, he's getting his own reality TV show. A lot of the world is going to watch that and be like, oh, big snakes. But the reptile world is fuming about it, because they're basically saying he's the Tiger King of the reptile world. Now, is the positive going to be that he brings more people into the community and reptile keeping becomes bigger? Or is that a negative, because you're going to have more people keeping Burmese pythons in small enclosures and making them obese, and possibly there being too much of a highlight on the reptile industry, and people starting to go, well, that shit, you need to stop that, and then more laws and stuff coming in. It's a tough one. It really is a tough one, but I think it depends what you go looking for, and hopefully at some point the positive stuff will come out on top.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and it's completely gear changing unless you want to touch more on that. But just there's 2 points to this. But top dream monitors: Argus Roughneck, Parenti, a yellow-headed water monitor, Mertens, Green Tree, and other tree monitors. Wowzers, you got more dream monitors than me.
Yeah.
So for you first, Riddler, what is your name? Let's just go 4 dream monitor species
that I don't currently own. Obviously, I only own one. But
if Roughnecks are in there, put Roughnecks in there.
I'm going to put Roughnecks in there. They are favourite monitors, dream monitors. Green Trees, 100% top of the list. Only keeping this down to 4 is quite tough.
You can go more if you want to go more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Way too crazy listed like 25, so you go crazy.
What would I like that's achievable? An Aki, even though they're only little dwarf, they are cool, very personable looking animals. Pilbarensis, as we've said before, I see them and they just look sick. I don't think I'd keep a massive monitor, like we're talking Asian water monitor, croc monitor. I don't think I'd do it. And I'm not sure why. But it almost seems like too big of an ask. But then it's weird, because I was watching a YouTube video yesterday where someone had just got a black throat monitor. And I was like, I wouldn't say no to a black throat. But they get massive as well. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
The 6th biggest monitor in the world.
Yeah, so it's a tough one. Roughnecks, Green Trees, Akis, Pilbaras. So you've got a nice mix of sizes there. I tell you what, if we're going to whack one big one in, I'm going to whack in the black throats as well. I think they're cool.
Bam saying starts reading Wikipedia list for all varanids. So for me, 4 dream monitor species are Prasinus. So green tree monitors have been a dream forever. I now have 3.
Yeah.
Before I started keeping monitors, mangrove monitors weren't in the list, but they are now because I adore mango so much. Peach throat monitors, so I've got one of those. So Varanus jobiensis, I fucking love those. Varanus uanaui, so the tricolored monitor there. Mitchellai, I really want. Beccarii, black trees. I want black trees. Glebal Palmer, which is the black palm rock monitor, which is basically a dwarf parenti. Obviously a parenti, but they're not obtainable to be honest. But yeah. I've got the parenti. Yeah. My next tattoo is going to be a parenti. Actually, I've decided.
To be fair, I definitely would consider a mangrove as well. To be fair, like even if they are nut jobs and just want to eat you, every time I see a picture or video of Mango,
you do like example, Mango, yeah.
I look at her and I go, she is stunning. Like again, similar. I think the reason I say that is because I've got this viewpoint and this feeling towards Ragnar, where I'm like, I don't have to hold him. I don't need to hold him to make him feel better. I can appreciate him from a distance. I could probably have what I call a smackhead monitor in a mangrove and be quite happy.
Yeah.
So I think that would probably be up there as well, because Mango is a special looking animal.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. But if you ever come to my place, or when you ever come to my place, my babies, because they're the same locality but they're different islands, they're actually so much nicer than Mango.
Will that disappear as they age though, or
no? They will change.
No? Yeah.
But like one of them's almost blue. It's got a blue hue to it. It's like iridescent blue. So you imagine a rainbow boa. That's what this lizard looks like.
Wow.
Iridescent. Like, but the camera doesn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Like not even close. And because I never see them, I sort of forget. And then I see one, I'm like, oh fuck. So a Bigularis, I forget which one it is, but there's a Bigularis, which I'm pretty sure is the white throat, but I forget. And then there's a Bigularis something else, which is the black throat. But white throats are just like black throats, just a bit smaller. What do you like? Do you like Savannahs, boss monitors? Are you like?
I do. And to be honest with you, I knew someone who had one, and he managed to get it to the point where it was coming out and falling asleep on his lap and things like that. It was basically a scale puppy. He did a really, really good job with that animal. He had the perfect heating setup, the thick substrate. Like literally every time he came into the reptile shop, he was just getting blocks of cocoa husk. He was like, I wish I could do it in one hit, but he's like, I just can't do it. And in the end, it was thick. And
it's so expensive, man.
Yeah, and he had this monitor to the point, like I say, where he'd just open the Viv, he'd crawl around for a bit, climb up the sofa, sit on him, little head right there, and just fall asleep like that. So that's sick. But they are cool. They are a cool animal as well. Again, not one I'd ever say no to, but me being who I am, there's not many animals I would say no to.
So just before I touch on this mangrove thing, it's a good list from Mike. So here's are probably Bosks, Bohemii, Jobiensis, and Varys. So Varys is a lace monitor. Like lace monitors.
I forgot. To be fair, yeah. All right. To
lace
be fair,
nice.
What's the
signed by Croc Doc himself?
Bell's Phase lace monitors.
Bell's Phase lace there.
I prefer the Bell's Phase, to be fair. Like the standard ones are really nice, but the Bell's Phase are just different. Yeah, I'm going to put that on my list as well. Good shout.
Yeah, Varys is sick. Okay, right. So.
Oh, here we go.
You've come to the right place. I have a pair of mangroves and they've just started fighting each other, and I separated them, but I don't know if they can't see each other anymore or put them back together. I don't know what to do. So let's ask Riddler. As a lesser experienced monitor keeper, what would your, before you messaged me going, Paul, fucking help me, what would your first point of call instinct telling you, if anything, other than obviously if the answer is just simply I would split and reach out for help, then that's the answer. But like, what's your instinct telling you to do with this situation?
It would literally be split for me because I'm not that clued up on body language, blah, 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 signs and this and that. If I was to see something like that, I'd split and I'd go, well, it's clearly not working. It's a tough one. I guess I'd try and reach out. Let's just say I didn't know you. I would try and reach out to someone that maybe did know, or look it up, or try and learn more. But for me personally, if I see that, I'd go, clearly something's wrong. Clearly something's not right. They're not happy. Separate, focus on them individually is my, whether that's right or wrong, that would be my immediate reaction.
Okay, yeah. Separating any animal that's fighting is the correct thing to do, obviously. So if the mangroves are only about 8 inches long, they're obviously not very big. They're young, and the fact that they're fighting that young is either it won't be 2 males at that point. If I'm honest, you probably got them in too small of a setup, and they're not set up correctly. If I'm completely honest, because obviously there are always outliers, but if we're talking generalization, you probably don't have them set up correctly, or the setup's too small for the 2 animals. Mangroves are solitary. I am having success at the moment keeping younger ones together, but mangroves are a solitary species. So for the most part, you do want to keep them separate, but I am currently trying to keep them together because, of course, if they're used to other monitors, it makes it easier for introduction, for breeding and stuff like that. At 8 months, at 8 inches, if they're fighting, like I say, you've probably got something wrong. But I would not stress about getting them back together. That is the least of your worries. You shouldn't have got these animals in the process of just trying to breed them, because then you've got them for the wrong reasons. You should care more the fact that your 2 animals separate are doing incredible. And if you can revisit breeding at a separate point, great. But yeah, just split them, grow them out a bit more. Don't try and reintroduce. Like, you're not gaining anything from it. You can, like, I'll be completely honest. If mine started fighting now, I would split them and I would not reintroduce them until I was looking to breed them. And you can only introduce them realistically as when the female starts fertilogenesis, which is a breeding cycle. So she starts fertilogenesis. She's then receptive for your male. You might not even have a pair. You might have 2 males and they're just going to fight anyway. And 2 females will fight anyway. I have a pair housed together, and then I have a very, very, very young pair. And I say it's a pair, 2 animals. I have a pair being a boy and a girl, and I have a pair being 2 animals. I don't know the sex of the 2 animals. It's all about keeping an eye. But that's my advice. Feel free to message me on Instagram. I'm happy to help as much as I can. Just pause monitors, send me some pictures of the setup. I'll see what I can do. But sadly, that's the reality of cohabbing animals. It just doesn't work sometimes.
See, this is one thing. Actually, this was one thing. Oh, God, I thought of the question at 3 minutes to 10. So with the majority of animals, reptiles, blah, 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 cohabbing, if you put a picture of 2 leopard geckos together, you're a reptile keeping piece of shit. You shouldn't be allowed animals. 2 ball pythons in a 10-foot enclosure. No, they shouldn't be cohabbed. You're a piece of shit. Anything, any reptile kept together, cohabbed, no, bad, wrong, go away, get a cat. Why is it that with monitors and the whole monitor community, they will show a trio, for example, of roughnecks living in this good-sized enclosure, and no one bats an eyelid, or the pairs, Asian water monitors, or something like, or do you know what I mean? Like, or a trio of Akis, or something like that, and they keep them together, and no one bats an eyelid. I like it. I think it's good. But is there a reason behind that?
So, just quickly on Way Too Crazy, message me on Instagram if you're on Instagram. Just send me some pictures and videos. But like I say, the chances are then, if it generally is a big enclosure, the chances are that you either have 2 males and one's more dominant than the other, and they're just a bit more mature for their size, or something somewhere. You know, they are solitary animals. So the reality is they're eventually going to start fighting anyway. But on the if I'm completely honest, my opinion on this obviously isn't fact. This is just my opinion. Is majority of people don't know when their monitors are cycling. So the majority of people don't know when the monitors are in fertilogenesis. And obviously, if you don't know when to add the male. So if you just have them together 24/7, nature takes its place. So when she cycles, the male's there, the male starts to get interested, she starts to swell up. You're like, oh, cool. I think that's a lot of the reason why people do it, because a lot of monitors are hard to read. Like sometimes you don't realize, and like for example, my Gilleneye, I have my Gilleneye in a group of 4, 1 male, 3 females. I could not tell you when my female cycled, could not tell you, but she's due to lay eggs in the next couple of days. I haven't seen any breeding behavior. I've seen signs of fertilogenesis. I've seen hanging. I've seen the cuddling from the male, and I've seen stuff like that. Never seen a lock. I wouldn't have been able to tell you when she started fertilogenesis. So if I did not have them in a group, I wouldn't have fertile eggs. That's just the reality of the situation. Another way to look at it is probably enrichment, like them interacting with each other in an environment gives them a lot more enrichment and stimulus than a solitary animal. Whether that's right or wrong is to be decided. I keep a lot of my stuff in pairs, so obviously I'm on the side of pairs. I have my Kims in a pair. I have my Bracinas solitary, but they will be housed as a pair. I have 3 mangroves individually. 2 mangroves individually, 2 in groups, like 2 and 2. I have my peach throat individually, but I've only got 1. I probably would try and cohab them. My Ackies live together as a pair.
There almost seems to be like no disagreement or hatred towards it. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
I think it's just because, like I say, it's a norm. It's just from day one, people didn't know how to breed monitors, and like this is
because it's like I see on a daily on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, things like that, when people are just getting dragged through the mud because they said, "Oh, my 2 Cresties who have lived together for 5 years, one of them's a bit smaller than the other one, they're fighting, blah blah," and they just get dragged through the mud. You shouldn't cohab. You're a piece of shit. Never do this again. Blah blah blah. But then if someone on a group posts their 2 tree monitors, for example, I've never, ever seen anyone going, "You're a piece of shit for cohabbing tree monitors," or do you know what I mean?
Because we're the untouchables, man. We're monitor keepers.
It's weird. It's almost like it's a level unto itself. Like, because I worry if I was ever to get, let's say I found out Ragnar was male, let's say I found a female and I put them in together, I'd be there going, once this goes online, I'm getting dragged through the mud for cohabbing. But then I also wouldn't, because I've seen monitors being kept together all the time, and everyone's like, "That's cool." But then the second you're like, "Oh yeah, my male and female leopard gecko have been living together," that's it. You are hung, drawn, and quartered, my friend. So it's weird. It's strange seeing difference between the 2.
I think this is to do with it because he's just commented. Oh, Jesus Christ, Gary, you came up at the wrong time. I got hate comments because I posted a video of my leopard gecko eating waxworms because it's not a healthy diet. So I replied with
see, things like that is absolutely ridiculous because you're not there saying, "Hi, this is the only thing you should ever feed your leopard gecko ever." If you're there taking a video of you giving your animal a treat, that's like giving a dog a pig's ear, putting it on a dog's TikTok channel and someone going, "How dare you only ever feed your dog pig's ears?" I clearly don't, dickhead. It's just a treat, you know what I mean? So I find, but people will find fault in things, and they're just full of hate and just want to basically,
I think with the monitors, though, like we are the people that sit at the back of the bus. We are the cool kids. It's a hard one because I don't think the crested gecko community look at monitor keepers and go, "Wow, these guys are so above us," because I don't think any. Like, I think most reptile keepers as a general go, "Oh, monitors are a step up." I think that's understandable, but I don't think any individual hobby goes, "Wow, the elitist monitor." I was obviously just joking about that for people that don't understand British sarcasm. But the honest answer is I don't know, but my opinion is at the very, very day one, people didn't know how to breed them. Fair enough. No one knew how to breed royals until we did. No one knew how to bloody breed cresties until we did. Like, you have to have a pioneer. So I think back in the day, people just kept them together. Some species are harder to keep together than others. For example, mangroves are harder to keep together than others. So it's harder to figure out how to breed them because they wouldn't cohabitate. So you couldn't go, oh, fucking hell, I've just got eggs. Oh, I've got eggs. And then start to see signs and pin out signs. Whereas Audatria, the dwarf monitors, will happily live together. So you can see the signs. Oh, the female does this. Oh, now the male's doing this. So you can start to plot a graph and you can set a blueprint for people to then not keep together. But it's that same old thing where they lived together, then they survived, they bred, they thrived. So people keep together. It's only the harder species of monitors like the mangroves, like the peach throats that don't live together, where we don't really know how to breed them. And then now obviously there's a few more people like Rudicolis. Like there are a few people that cohab Rudicolis, so it's a different example. But people hadn't had the success breeding, so they would keep together. And like I say, it is a stimulus for the animal as well. So I personally am not anti-cohabbing. I personally am anti-aggression. So for example, my male Aki was nipping, and it was only a nip, the top of my female's neck because he wanted to breed. And I was just like, nope. It's too much stress. It's too much issue. Like these animals are in captivity. I'm here to better their life. So I just split them. I just instantly. I'm not like, oh, I'll see if they work it out. Biting is bad. Split. And I know my animals very well. I know he was just doing it from frustration. And I know within a couple of hours he would have given up. But I split him for 3 weeks. And then I put him back in. They've been fine since. You know, and there's other times where I put the male in, the female's just gone for him. And he's have to be out the viv for 6 months. And the problem is, I think people forget to realize is when you cohab. So, for example, let's say you get 2 Rudicolis, and let's just say you've got Ragnar, and let's just say it's an 8x6. Let's just say for the story, the whole thing's 8x6. You're like, okay, this is the minimum I want of Rudicolis in. It's okay for a pair. I've got the pair in there. All of a sudden, they fight. Well, you need another spare 8x6 24/7. Otherwise, all of a sudden, your spare Rudicolis is now in a 4x2x4. Maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll put them back together. But then what happens if you can't? What happens if you can only breed them in vitellogenesis? So this is why I'm so stressed, back to the original start of the podcast, because it's all well and good building these 12x4x4s for a pair of mangroves. But then what if the pair of mangroves don't want to be a pair of mangroves? That's what you have to remember.
It's that whole thing of you can lead a horse to water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
you can have everything perfect and spot on, but if the animal don't want to do it, the animal ain't doing it.
Yeah, so we will read these last comments and we're going to wrap up. If no one else, if you have any questions, ask them now or forever.
Or hold your peace.
Yeah. My dad got 1 male and 2 female roughneck monitors.
We probably shouldn't be finishing each other's sentences either, otherwise Fee will definitely be getting worried.
I don't know if she's here anymore, so we might be fine. I mean, I'm in the loft. Fuck knows where she's doing, who she's with right now. But people love to moan. People do love to moan.
Yeah, they do.
What's good? Tapping in for a little. We're just at the end, but I appreciate you. IBAN clips. I appreciate you stopping in. I'm going to skip over some of these. Sorry, everyone. Personally, people and kids should look for more unique animals besides. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to elaborate on this because I've elaborated it on more in other podcasts. But yeah, I do agree. Beginner species have a place, but I do think that they need. Oh God, Fee is here. Shit. Don't ask anything. You can have him. All right. Anyway, so the 2 wrap-up questions that you've already had. What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone just starting the reptile hobby? And Bam did ask this earlier, but I forgot to ask. How are the new plants doing, Riddler?
Some of them are looking beautiful. Others look as though I've smashed them with a rolling pin.
LEDs.
And also, to be fair, like I say, a big heavy-bodied snake who sees a plant and doesn't want it there will definitely go move, and that's it. It's game over. But it's one that I say quite often. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you're willing to admit to them. Gary, before I forget to get that. Yeah, Gary doing the shout outs, like the video.
Like the video.
Yeah, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you're willing to admit them. Now, that's not me saying see that it's wrong and do it anyway and then go, my bad. What I mean is if you feel as though you're doing the best for your animal and then research or anything like that tells you otherwise, you are allowed to go, that was wrong, my bad. Research. Yeah, for sure. It's like me, for example. I'm just going to use myself as an example. I bought a load of snakes, put them in a rack. They don't live like that in the wild. I was wrong. Hold my hands up and admit it. Move on. Do it again. You know, do better. Do better. You know, when I was younger, my first ever reptile was a leopard gecko. A friend of mine said he had a female. Do you want her? Yes. Male and a female living together, cohabbed. Here we go, the cohab thing. In this enclosure, there was a red heat lamp. Boo. It's all these little things. Yeah, exactly. And it's all these little things that I will admit to that because I've since found out that it's wrong and I've changed it and I bettered the lives of my animals. So yeah, don't ever feel like just because there's the adage as well of don't cling on to a mistake just because it's taken you a long time to make it. Yeah. You know, I've had this rack for 2-3 years now. I've had it for a while. That doesn't mean I should go, well, I'm in too deep now. That's it. I'm a royal python breeder now. Whoops. It's not too late. Just, you know, because when they are improved, it's almost like there's the next part of their life. You know, it doesn't have to remain the same. So, yeah, I'd probably go with those two.
And we, in my little monitor group chat, we decided we were going to play a Riddler Reptiles drinking game.
Oh, yeah.
Something to do. I can't remember what it fucking was.
Oh, I'd be curious to know that.
To be fair, it was not even like, I'm not going to sell it like it was this massive planned out thing. I think it was pretty much every time he mentions the word rack, drink, or something like that. It was something like that. Okay. I don't fucking know. It was all Michael as well. Nothing to do with me. It was all Michael. And all the big question that Riddler's had before. So technically, this is the second best piece of advice you've ever been given, because you've already given me the first piece of advice you've ever been given, unless the advice is now changed. Anyway, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, not reptile related?
I didn't realize I was going to get this question again.
Here we are.
Best piece of advice I've been given that's not reptile related.
It was from Paul's monitors about 3 weeks ago, telling me to enjoy the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. I'll go with that, actually. I got so caught up in the what could be that I forgot what was happening here and now. And not even just reptile related, like just in general, like just life, just looking at what could be, you know, what my life could be if my YouTube kicks off, if I'm making $2,000 a video, if I'm doing this and I can spend my days doing this and I can do this. And then you went, yeah, but you sort of are already. I went, oh yeah. And then, yeah. You're going to sell your rack or set it on fire. So it's a very good question. My rack isn't one of these that you see, like, what are they called? Like Freedom Breeder racks, where it's all just metal shelving and plastic tubs. I built mine integrated into like what used to be an old storage cupboard. So I can't sell it because it's not sellable. It's built into the house. I probably won't set it on fire for the same reason, because it is built into the house. I'd rather not burn the house down, but it will be getting filmed as I probably smash it with a hammer. Once the snakes are in their new enclosures and blah, 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 I think I've got to get the old hammer out and just go to town on it, I reckon.
Destroying my reptile rack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good video. All of Riddler's stuff is in the description. It's a great privilege of mine to now officially, like, not because of this podcast, but over time, you've become a friend of mine, and agreed. I'm very grateful for your wisdom in the private chats and your honesty and your openness,
likewise,
publicly
sir.
and privately.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming on. This has been a bit of a manic podcast. It's sort of jumped around a lot, and it's been a bit, but I think it's very fitting for our friendship, to be honest. And to be honest, mate, like I always blow smoke up people's asses at the end of the podcast, but I don't blow smoke in the sense of just fucking try and pluck something out my ass to tell to you. I'm generally proud of the keeper you've become, like as you know that I'm joking because I just word things as they are. But when we met, you were shit. Yeah. Dilly. Like you weren't shit. But like, I think it was safe to say that you were lost.
And
I'm very proud of the keeper. I was going to say the man, but same thing. I'm very proud of the keeper that you've become and your willingness. I said this in the last podcast, but your willingness to be like, you know what, I fucked up and I've made mistakes. Please learn from my mistakes. And your willingness, even when like something had happened 2 weeks ago and you go, oh, fuck, that was wrong. And you're rather than just going, oh, I'll let that sit. You're still happy to go, sorry, guys. And not a lot of people have that credibility. Like there's a couple of things I've seen on social media recently, which are, I know behind the scenes are a lie. And these people are continuing to front the lie rather than just forgetting about it or rather than addressing it. They continue to be, for example, it's like me saying, this is a similar example, like Kada dying and then me continuing to post pictures and videos of her that I had. Like I know a few things that have happened rather than people going, you know what, I fucked up, this animal's died or this has gone wrong. So, and your, like I say, your willingness, you can't change everything overnight, but you're slowly making strides to benefit every single one of your animals. No holds barred. You're making the difficult decisions to benefit your animals. And I think that makes you an incredibly selfless keeper. And I can safely say that you wouldn't have done something like that 6 months ago. And now you're putting your best foot forward and you're, like we say in the DMs, like version 2. Like you're evolving every day, like as a man and a keeper, just as we become friends and we're both enlightening each other to different aspects of life.
It's one of the, I'm taking more pride in it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like the more I do for these animals and the happier it makes me, the more I'm like, I need to get this video out so I can show everyone what I've done. Do you know what I mean? And it's bettering their lives. It's bettering mine. And like I say, to be fair, a lot of it is through your help. I wouldn't be adding 3-foot LEDs and things like that to the enclosures because who does that? Do you know what I mean? It would never have occurred to me on top of heat lights and UVB to go, I'll tell you what that enclosure needs is lighting. It just would never, even though I use lighting on a fish tank, it's never occurred to me. And then when you're there going, yeah, but it's better for them and they prefer it. And you go, oh yeah. So it's through speaking to yourself, and opening up my eyes to accepting advice. And because the thing is, you're happy to call out bullshit. And that I'm happy to accept it. Like, I'll say something, you'll go, Riddler, just a quick one, dickhead. And I'll go, shit, here we go. But it helps because it's being kept in check. And I think people need that. Do you know what I mean? So,
but then it takes a bigger man to be able to go, because there has been a few times where you've said something, I've disagreed with it. And it's not even a matter of opinion. Like sometimes we've had disagreements of opinion, for example, on let's just say religion. We might not agree on that. We've had a great conversation about it. That's that. Bygones are bygones. And then there's been times where you've said something and I've gone, actually, mate, you're wrong. Giving you evidence to why you're wrong. And then you're man enough to go, do you know what? Fair fucking play.
That's the only way we can all better ourselves, though. That's the only way forward. No one knows everything. No one is perfect. And you should be able to admit to mistakes. You should be able to go, maybe I did do that wrong. Because you can only improve from there. Do you know what I mean? I think this isn't me saying everyone be like me. I'm saying everyone needs to be able to own their shit. And if someone is trying to help you and, in general, life, animal keeping, whatever, it's not hard to listen to someone, whether you agree with it or not, but just not being shitty about it as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's humility and self-awareness is an incredible aspect of becoming a keeper, and you've got it in abundance. And strangely, it's growing leaps and bounds, because you were never not, but you're becoming more humble, and you're becoming more like aware of situations which you put yourself in to benefit, well, regardless if it's to benefit or like you say, your brain's going, oh, let's do this, and you're very able to go, oh, okay, actually, yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing, rather than, so hats off to you for that, because it is great to see, because like I say, I do generally class you as a mate. We've only met there once, and when I come to your house, you're going to murder me and take all my money that I don't have and burn my Crocs. But I mean,
you've just ruined the surprise now.
It's not a surprise, I'm dead. So if you guys don't hear from me in like Sunday, whatever day after I see him, then you know why. But yeah, like again, mate, I'm not fucking gaslighting you. Like, I say this to you in person. Fee's sort of hoping that you kill me, to be honest. She'll give you mango if you kill me. That's probably the deal. So yeah.
Okay.
God help you, because mango will kill you. She'll come back with vengeance. But yeah, like I say, I am blowing smoke up your ass, but I wouldn't just say it. Because if I didn't think it, I wouldn't say it, because I'm not that sort of person. And like I say, I'm generally proud of you, mate. Like, as a friend, regardless of anything else, I generally am like proud of the keeper that you're becoming, because it's beautiful, regardless of my influence or not. I couldn't give a shit about that, but it's beautiful to like watch you generally start to, I guess, realize the direction you want to be going in, which is quite nice.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and obviously it's with your help as well, so I do appreciate it. So thank you.
There's no worries at all. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Final quick comments before we wrap up, because me and Riddler did want to set a deadline and we went over it. But put a geotag on your Crocs. Yeah, right. Just quickly, Gary, just for you. On if I'm not live on Sunday 21st, I'm dead. And Sunday the 21st podcast is going to be early, because I have an Australian on, and they physically can't make 8 o'clock because it's stupid time zones. So Sunday the 21st podcast will be at 1 p.m, but I'll let you all know about that at a different date. I trade the lizards for the cats. Deal or no deal? Or all the lizards. So that's a good deal.
Well, speaking of, actually, Fee, the reason I'm on my phone right now was to show you this. So whilst we've been sat here doing this podcast, this is what was looking through the window at me, trying to get my attention.
Hang on, wait. I'm going to put you on full screen.
See that little shit there? Screaming through the door. Little bastard.
All right. Exit solo. Okay, Fee, you can have the cats. Give me Paul's Ackies. Can I have Bumpy? Dibs on the green trees. Why the fuck is everyone selling my goddamn lizards? Anyway.
Yeah, blimey.
Thank you all. Honestly, she hates me and hates the lizards. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you very much for having me. For your time.
Cheers for having me.
I'm sure you'll be back on again, mate. Like, whenever something else happens or not happens, like I love having you on. Like I say, the podcast was a bit sporadic, but I think that's very fitting for the people that we are. I haven't linked it, but I'll try to remember. But the first podcast that Riddler and I did was incredible. I don't want to say it was better than this one, but I think because
they were different, weren't they?
Because it was our first podcast and we didn't know each other as well. I think it was more like insightful. But I think this one has given some little hidden gems for people to. But I don't script my podcast, so fuck knows where they go. And here we are. So like and comment, please, because it really does help me out. And we're very, very, very close. I'm very honest with you guys to that monetization. We need just under 500 watch hours. Come on, boys. Yeah, we're nearly there. The guy's there. And we just hit 1,400 subscribers. I think we're on like 1,407 now. So thank you all very much. That is incredible. Boy. I didn't even think I'd get 1,000. So I appreciate you all. I love you all.
Well deserved, though, Geese. Well deserved.
Thank you very much. This might kick you. This might not kick you. But if it does, then I love you. If it doesn't, I'll tell you that in a minute. Love you all. Love you guys. See you next Sunday for the Fellowship of the Varanus. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I am going to end the broadcast right about now. So peace out.
Take it easy, everyone. Peace.